Welcome to Reddit Stories, where OP's mother-in-law is posting AI images of her on Facebook. My mother-in-law used AI to fake family photos and called me ungrateful. My husband and I have been living together for 5 years now, married for a little over 2. From the beginning, I've always had a good relationship with my mother-in-law. She's friendly, involved, and very much the kind of person who likes to feel connected to everyone's lives. One thing that has always stood out about her, though, is Facebook. She's extremely into it. I'm talking at least one post a day, sometimes more. She's been on it forever, and my husband has told me stories about how when he was a kid and a teenager, she used to post status updates for him, photos of him, milestones, random thoughts, all of it. At the time, it was just mom behavior, and no one really questioned it. As an adult, my husband doesn't post much at all. I post occasionally, but I'm pretty private. The thing is, whenever we send my mother-in-law photos of us, or pictures of something we're doing, or even just something noteworthy in our lives, there's a good chance that it ends up on her Facebook page. Sometimes she asks, but a lot of times she doesn't. I've opened Facebook more than once and seen photos of myself that I didn't even know she had taken. Pictures from holidays, from family dinners, from casual moments where I didn't even realize she had her phone out. She has around 2,000 followers, but everything she posts is completely public. No privacy settings, no friends only. Anyone can see it. I've always found that uncomfortable, but for a long time, I just brushed it off. I told myself that she's proud of her son, she's excited about her family, and it's harmless. I didn't want to make waves, especially since up until now, we've always gotten along really well. Lately though, life has been busy. My husband and I both started new jobs with demanding schedules. Mine is especially odd and doesn't line up well with weekends or holidays. Because of that, we haven't been able to make the trip to see his parents together since the holidays. He's gone by himself a couple of times, but I haven't been able to join him. It's not ideal, but everyone knows why, and we've been clear about it. Yesterday, I got a call from my parents, which already felt strange because they don't usually call me out of the blue in the middle of the day. My mom asked, very casually, "So, when did you guys go up to see his parents?" I was confused and told her that we hadn't. She said she thought we had because she saw pictures on Facebook of us all watching a football game together, wearing matching jerseys and smiling on the couch. I opened Facebook while we were still on the phone, and there it was. My mother-in-law had posted an AI-generated image of me and my husband sitting with her and my father-in-law, all of us in matching team jerseys watching a football game. It looked realistic at first glance, but once you stared at it, it was clearly fake. The lighting was off. My face looked like a slightly wrong version of me. My husband noticed immediately that the jersey he was wearing wasn't even a team that he liked. My heart started racing. This wasn't a photo she took without asking. This wasn't even a photo she edited. This was an image of us that never even happened. She created a moment, shared it publicly, and people believed it. My husband was just as uncomfortable as I was. He apologized right away and said that he had talked to his mom. He told me he thought it crossed a line and that it made him uneasy too. He offered to text her and ask her not to create any more AI photos of us. She did not take it well at all. She responded by saying we were ungrateful for everything she does. She said we've always hurt her feelings when we ask her not to post our pictures. She said I'm too sensitive and that we should just let her post whatever she wants. She specifically pointed out that she's their mother and grandmother someday, and that sharing her family is her right. Reading her messages really shook me. I've never spoken to her harshly. I've never even raised my voice. Every time I've asked for fewer photos or more privacy, I've been polite and careful. I honestly thought those requests were being understood. Apparently, she's been holding on to resentment this whole time. My husband told her that the AI photos were where he drew the line. He said he understood her liking to post, but creating fake images of us was not okay. He tried to keep it calm, but she doubled down. She said she was just having fun. She said we were making her feel like a bad person. She said she couldn't believe we'd accuse her of something like that. Now, my husband and I are on the same page about the AI images. Neither of us want that to happen again. Where we differ is everything else. He thinks we can let her continue with her normal posting habits and just set this one boundary. I don't feel that way anymore. This whole situation has made me deeply uncomfortable. It's not just about the AI image. It's realizing that she doesn't see our boundaries as boundaries at all. She sees them as personal attacks. And now I'm questioning whether I ever really had a say in what gets posted about me. I don't want to start a war. I don't want to damage the relationship. But I also don't like the idea that photos of me, moments from my life, or even fake versions of me can be shared publicly without my consent, especially after I've said it makes me uncomfortable. So now I'm asking, am I the jerk if I start telling my mother-in-law no to posting pictures of me outside of family photos and reasonable things? Not the jerk. Posting real photos without asking is already iffy, but generating fake AI images of you and sharing them publicly is a whole different level of not okay. You're allowed to decide how your face and your life show up online, especially when people are being misled by it. Her reaction says this is more about her need for control and attention than anything you did wrong. Setting boundaries here is reasonable, not rude. So mother-in-law isn't just posting photos without asking, she's literally inventing new ones too. Yeah, because nothing says family love like a completely fake reality shared with 2,000 strangers. And then she calls them sensitive for not wanting their faces used in fan fiction. It's like I always say, just because someone was in the first half of your life doesn't mean they're entitled to stay in the second half of it too. Right. When someone refuses to show you basic respect, it's time to ask yourself why you're still letting them be a character in the story of your life. I unwittingly created a family with my next-door neighbor and her son. 3 years ago, a woman named Cassie, who's 32, female, and her son, Kenny, who's 13, moved into the apartment next door to me. They had a few boxes, so I figured I, 31, male, would offer to help and get off to a good start. I noticed Kenny had a PS4, so I told him that I game too, and that he was welcome to come over and play anytime if his mom was okay with it. I have a PS5, a Switch, and a PC, just for context. Since I'm a mechanic, I also told Cassie that if she ever had car trouble, she could come to me anytime. I help a lot of people in the building with their cars. She appreciated that and accepted. I didn't really interact with either Kenny or Cassie beyond a few heys for the first few weeks. But a little over a month after they moved in, Cassie knocked on my door and asked if I could check her car because it wouldn't start. It turned out the spark plugs needed changing, which was an easy fix. Cassie was really thankful and offered to pay me, but I told her it was no problem. She invited me to have dinner with her and Kenny as a thank you. I was hesitant at first, but she insisted. The next day, we had dinner together and it was really nice. I learned more about her and I got to know Kenny better too. He's a great kid, really into games, science, and his guitar. After dinner, we even went over to my place to play Mario Kart. After that, I got pretty close with Kenny. I started to see him like a little brother. He came over almost every day to play games, and I began teaching him about cars. I even brought him to my shop once to show him some tools. He's a fast learner, and he told Cassie that he wants to be a mechanic like me. I joked and told him to aim higher and become an engineer instead. Now, he's actually looking into engineering programs. I think Cassie really appreciated the relationship that I had with her son. She became a lot friendlier with me too. During lockdown, I got sick, and she was incredibly kind. She brought me groceries, cleaned my apartment, and helped take care of me while I recovered. I was really grateful. After that, she started cooking dinner for me almost every night, and the three of us would eat together. If I worked late, she would even leave food in my apartment for me. The other day, Kenny brought one of his friends over. I met the friend, and he introduced me by saying, "This is OP. He's like my dad." Not gonna lie, that completely caught me off guard. I've always thought of Kenny as more like a little brother, so hearing that really surprised me. I later asked Cassie about it, and she seemed surprised that I was surprised. She said she would never try to force that role on me, but that Kenny really does see me as a father figure. She said he even hoped that she and I would end up together so we could become a real family. Then she admitted that she wouldn't mind that either. I asked her if she was asking me out, and she smiled and said yes. I was surprised, but I said okay. We have a dinner date this weekend, and I'm extremely nervous. I don't want to mess things up with Cassie or Kenny. I really care about both of them. I'm just not sure how I feel about being a father figure to Kenny. That feels like a big responsibility, and I'm not sure I'm ready for that. And Cassie is an amazing woman. I just hope I can live up to what she deserves. So I'm asking Reddit, are my worries normal? Should I set some boundaries with Kenny? How do I not mess this up with Cassie? Sounds like you were already doing the job before anyone ever gave you the title. I wouldn't stress it too much. Just keep being you. This honestly sounds like the start of something really good. He likes you for what you're doing now, not for trying to be more than that. You don't have to rush into a label or a role. Just show up, be consistent, and see where it goes. Update 10 days later. So here are a few things to clarify before the update. People were asking if I'm actually attracted to Cassie, and the answer is yes. She's one of the strongest, nicest, most considerate people I know. She constantly puts other people before herself, and I always wish that someone would put her first for once. And yes, Cassie is also super pretty. I just never thought she'd be interested in me that way. Now for the update. I was nervous all week leading up to the date on Saturday. During our usual family dinners, Cassie smiled at me a lot more. I don't think Kenny noticed since he was too busy on his phone. Cassie very gently suggested that Kenny, who's 13, spend the weekend with his grandparents. He didn't really want to, but she pretty much pushed him out the door. On Saturday evening, I knocked on Cassie's door, and she opened it wearing an absolutely beautiful dress. I broke the tension by asking if that dress was for me. She laughed, and we headed out. The evening was a little awkward at first, but when we were walking to the restaurant, she grabbed my hand and smiled at me, and that helped a lot. From there, everything felt easy. We talked, laughed, and had a really nice dinner. I asked her what made her change her mind about me, and she said it was last Christmas. For some context, Cassie is a hard-working single mom, and Kenny has everything that he needs. But she can't always afford the extras, and that really bothers her. She wanted to get Kenny a PS5 because he had been asking for one, but she couldn't justify the cost. Since I had the extra money, I spent months watching stock alerts until I finally found one. I surprised Kenny with it on Christmas and told him it was from his mom. Cassie was shocked and started crying. Kenny was so excited he didn't even notice. All Cassie kept saying was thank you. Apparently, that was when she realized she wanted me in their lives forever. She tried to push those feelings down, but couldn't. Our recent conversation just gave her the push that she needed to say something. After dinner, we went back to her place for a drink and talked about expectations and how we wanted to move forward. We agreed to be exclusive, to take things slow, and not to tell Kenny anything until we're sure this is real and stable. We don't want to give him unrealistic expectations. She also said calling me his dad was too much too soon and apologized. She said it was wishful thinking and that it probably would have made most people uncomfortable. She told me I could choose whatever role I felt comfortable with in Kenny's life, though she hoped one day I might see him as a son. Sorry to disappoint, but we didn't rush into anything physical. We both felt it was too soon. We did have a buzzed makeout session, though. The next day we went for brunch, and then we went apple picking. It felt really good to be walking hand in hand with someone you care about and doing something simple and happy together. At dinner last night, Cassie sat close to me and kept brushing her foot against my leg. I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty sure I'm falling for her and falling hard. So yeah, that's it. We're together now, and I hope it lasts. I don't think I want anyone else. Cassie is an incredible person, and I hope I can be good for her. She really is special. Thanks everyone. You've all been very kind. Edit. Believe me, I'm not a choir boy. And yes, I'm very attracted to Cassie, but I want to respect her and not make it seem like I'm only interested in the physical. Taking things slow means not acting like teenagers, unfortunately. That said, things are progressing nicely. We cross little milestones all the time, and we're building toward the bigger ones. It's definitely way too early for the L word, but I don't really know how else to describe what I'm feeling. Since people seem to enjoy our story, here's a small update. We spent Thanksgiving with her parents. Her mom has always liked me and was clearly rooting for us. She picked up on it almost immediately and pulled us aside to ask if we were together. She gave in and admitted it. She hugged me and practically squeezed the life out of me. Her mom couldn't even hide her smile the rest of the night. Meanwhile, while I was talking to her dad at dinner, Cassie was not so subtly rubbing her foot up and down my leg, causing me to stutter numerous times. Her dad asked me if I was all right, and I just said I had bad heartburn. Honestly, I feel like I'm a high schooler again. It feels new, exciting, and a little scary in a good way. As for Kenny, I don't think he suspects anything. We've been restoring a car together, which keeps him busy, and he's also distracted with his own crushes. Update 18 months later. Okay, I'm in the break room at work, and I'm grinning like an idiot, and I don't know what to do with my hands, so I'm typing this out to burn off some nervous energy. I work as a mechanic, and my boss called me into the office. I thought I messed something up somehow, but he had a huge bouquet of roses on his desk. He told me, "This is for you." I was like, what? Then I read the card attached to it, and it said, "Just because. Love, girlfriend." My boss laughed and told me I had a good one and not to mess it up. He said he'd have to give me a hard time about it, but he was happy for me. Sure enough, the boys on the floor ripped me to shreds once they heard about it. I didn't even care. I was basically floating. Now I'm on my break, and I can't stop thinking about how much this completely caught me off guard. Can someone please talk me down from going out and buying her a ring after work? Edit. Hey everyone, I'm finally off work and still a little flustered, but I think I've calmed down now. I'm not going to buy her a ring today, but I do feel like I need to do something. The problem is, I don't know what. She deserves absolutely everything, but I can't think of anything that would match this. I do have an idea of taking her on a last-minute romantic getaway this weekend. Also, to everyone asking, yes, the woman in this story is Cassie from my previous posts. This is so wholesome, it hurts. Don't rush into a ring if you haven't talked about marriage yet, but definitely plan something nice for her. A trip, a special dinner, something that shows you noticed what she did. After reading so many horrific stories about cheating spouses, betrayals, and failed relationships, this is by far the sweetest thing I've seen on this subreddit. Maybe your coworkers will laugh, but believe me, they envy you. What's wrong with a woman sending flowers? Show her how much you appreciate the effort. A date, a nice dinner, something meaningful. I'd be over the moon, honestly. My husband once did the same for me, and all my coworkers were green with envy. I was almost teary all day. It's not the flowers, it's someone thinking of you. Congrats. Update 1 month later. So I had a secret talk with her parents, and when I told them I was planning to propose, her mother practically jumped through the roof. She immediately went into planning mode about the best way to propose, what kind of ring Cassie likes, all that stuff. Honestly, I don't know who's more excited, me or her. The funniest part is that Cassie saw how giddy I was after the roses and was happy I liked them. But she also had to calm me down and tell me not to do anything impulsive. I did end up planning a really nice weekend away over Memorial Day weekend, just the two of us at a lake house. I don't know exactly when or where I'll propose yet, but if people want it, I guess I'll update. So the guy next door accidentally built a family, fell in love, got roses at work, and is now planning a proposal. I leave Reddit for 5 minutes and someone speedruns emotional maturity. Am I the jerk for moving out of our apartment without reminding my ex that our lease is up on the 31st? My ex-boyfriend, 30 male, and I, 29 female, had been together for almost 8 years, living together for 5. We were initially child-free by choice because we liked having a lot of disposable income and being able to go on spontaneous trips, and we didn't want to give that up. A little over a year ago, one of our best couple of friends got pregnant, and I think he started to change his mind about the child-free lifestyle. We talked about it, and he assured me that he hadn't changed his mind, but I still had a gut feeling. The baby was born in July, and while we've both been involved in the usual village-like activities that come with having close friends who are new parents, I noticed him pulling away from me. He was texting less throughout the day and missing at least one of our bi-weekly date nights each week. I tried to talk to him again and explained very clearly that I wasn't going to change my mind about being child-free. I told him that if he was heading in that direction, he needed to tell me now so we could avoid miscommunication and a messy breakup later. He said he'd been thinking about talking to me about adoption later on. We talked about it briefly, but once my mind is made up, it's very hard to change. He had a few business trips lined up in October, so we decided to use that time as a break. The idea was to take some space, think about whether we were still aligned, and then come back either having worked through it or deciding to break up for good. We rented a pretty fancy, expensive apartment together, and I stayed there while he traveled. I'm a very pragmatic person, so I kind of saw that as the beginning of the end. Disagreeing about whether or not to have kids isn't something you can really compromise on, in my opinion. While I could technically afford the apartment on my own, I wouldn't be able to keep up the lifestyle I'd been used to. So I started putting feelers out for a new place. I told him I was doing this since we were still talking about once a week during the break, and we even joked about how we were lucky this relationship mess happened near the end of the year when our lease was up. We officially broke up in late November, and I reminded him that the lease on our apartment expired in December. I told him he needed to decide whether he was staying or finding somewhere new. I assumed he wouldn't stay because even though his name is on the lease and he makes a bit more than I do, almost all the furniture and everything that made this feel like our place belonged to me. He waffled and said he wasn't sure, that he'd decide closer to the end of the year. Since the breakup, we've had very little contact except to coordinate him picking up a few odds and ends from wherever he's staying temporarily. It's now December 29th, and this is where I think I might be the jerk. 2 weeks ago, I found a gorgeous, reasonably priced 2-bedroom apartment and arranged for my furniture to be moved tomorrow. I've been going back and forth all day about whether I should call him to remind him about the lease ending. He's moved most of his clothes out, but he still has a lot of electronics, memorabilia, comic books, action figures, and random things in his office. I haven't touched any of it because none of it is mine. My best friend, who's currently drinking all my wine while helping me pack, thinks I should text him as a courtesy, but I feel like I've reminded him plenty already and we're both adults. I shouldn't have to remind him to collect his own things. So Reddit, am I the jerk for moving out without telling him and leaving whatever happens with the landlord for him to deal with? Not the jerk. You don't owe him a reminder, but a quick, I moved all my stuff out today, everything left is yours, text would be a basic courtesy. After that, it's on him. Unless your name is still on the lease, then I'd be more careful about fees. You know, if he had cheated or tried to pressure you to have kids or done something awful, I could totally see not saying anything. But it sounds like a reasonably amicable breakup caused by changing goals for the future. It's not unheard of for someone to waffle about whether or not they want a family, especially men. I've always known I want to remain child-free as a woman, but I've had a steady stream of exes who started out saying they never want kids and then change their mind as soon as one of their friends or siblings has one. Anyway, I just send him a reminder text and leave it at that. Update 5 days later. So for anyone interested, I did end up texting him on Wednesday morning because the cleaners were coming in the afternoon and I wanted them to clean his space too. Luckily, he hadn't forgotten, but apparently he had been expecting me to pack his office up and let him know when to come collect his stuff. Anyway, I told him I hadn't and he came over right away to get his things together. We actually had a really nice morning together despite that miscommunication and everything's fine now. Thanks to everyone who commented on my post and messaged me their thoughts. The ultimate goal was to get opinions from people who had some distance from the situation, and I got that. I can also acknowledge that I was a little bitter about the circumstances, and that's what led to my hesitation to text him in the first place. Overall, though, I'm glad I did. This is the rare breakup story where nobody's evil, just mildly disorganized and emotionally out of sync. My girlfriend complains that being a stay-at-home girlfriend is too hard, so I told her maybe she should get a job. I do love her, but I'm honestly really annoyed right now. My girlfriend could not get through college because it was too difficult for her. She was 24. She was crying all the time and stressed out. She tried for multiple years, but she couldn't do it. She said it was too hard for her, and after discussing it a lot, I said that she could drop out and I'd take care of her. I like the idea of giving someone I love a really happy and great life. She can enjoy herself and chase after hobbies. I always pictured myself with someone that was highly educated like I was, but I realized it doesn't have to be that way, and some people are happier without the capitalist grind. It was hard for a while, especially when we were younger and I was still in school, but I'm an engineer now. Since I'm the only person providing, I work upper 40s to mid 50s every week. I love my job and I'm passionate about what I do, but it is physically exhausting. It even zaps my energy on the weekends. I'm still really young though, so I'm hoping to work less in the future. She does like 90% of the cooking and cleaning, but we have a small condo. We live in the big city and no kids. We do have a dog. So I was shocked when we were with new friends and she mentioned that she was a stay-at-home mom and it was the hardest job in the world, what she did. I corrected her and said we didn't have kids and we didn't want any for the next 10 years. She said sure, but our dog is our kid. For the rest of the dinner, she went on to talk about how difficult being a housewife is with a woman there who was actually a stay-at-home mom. It really rubbed me the wrong way. I wouldn't ever say I have the hardest job in the world. Afterwards, I asked her what she meant. I said she was living the life. I would love to be in her shoes. I'm clocking 50 hours a week while she's sending me pictures of her shopping at Target, spending hundreds somehow, and she has the hardest job in the entire world? I said that made me feel really underappreciated. She said I was underappreciating her. It is the hardest job. Cooking and cleaning is exhausting. She said she spent 6 hours cooking yesterday, but I pointed out all she made was a Chipotle bowl. If that's taking you 6 hours, something's wrong. She said she was counting in the hours that she spent letting the beans simmer. Like, goodness gracious, it comes off extremely privileged, which she is, I guess. I told her that she has no idea what it's like for me. She's never worked a full-time job, and it rubs me the wrong way she's talking about how hard cooking beans is. I said if it was that hard, she can go back to school or get a job and we'll hire a cook and a cleaner. If I hired someone to do her job, I'd save a lot of money. It turned into a big fight and she called me a jerk. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. You're being taken advantage of. This will not get better. You should consider yourself lucky she's just a girlfriend and you don't have kids yet. Leave now. She will always be entitled and always think she's doing more. Counting the beans simmering, she's ridiculous. OP. I feel horrible for reconsidering our relationship over this, but I am. It just made me realize how entitled and ungrateful she is. Who counts the time it takes for food to simmer as the amount of time you spent working? She was probably watching TV. I'm not going to make any rush decisions. I'm going to think about it, but I definitely don't think our relationship can continue the way it currently is. I'd appreciate it if she at least got a job maybe. I don't know. I think it's a good idea for everyone to work a full-time job, at least at some point in your life. I work 50 hours a week with a salary job at a school. I have a cat. I cook and clean. I'm an adult. She's not a stay-at-home mom. She's a spoiled stay-at-home adult because she's not even your wife. Am I the jerk for reducing my parents' allowance by whatever amount they share with my siblings? My parents live in a less developed country than I do. My siblings and I all live in North America or Europe. When I got my new job, I did my budget and saw that I could send home roughly $1,300 a month without it affecting my personal comfort. I would still be able to save for my future and my mom and dad could retire. So when I was home, I set up a joint account for us. That way, I could see if they needed more and make sure that they were not getting scammed or anything. After about a year and a half, I started noticing that there was a $200 transfer every month. I asked them about it, and they said he was having difficulties with his budget, so they were helping him out. My brother doesn't need help. He's a scholarship student. He actually receives a stipend from my home government to study abroad. What he wants is money to party. So I reduced the amount I give them by $200. Obviously, they do not need it if they can afford to give it away every month. My mom called me when she noticed and was yelling at me for being a crappy daughter and sister. I asked her to tell me exactly how much money they contributed to my party fund when I was away for school. Just so you know, the answer is zero. They also tried to talk me out of attending university in Canada. I'm not sure how common the idea of filial piety is in other cultures, but it's a big deal in mine. She went off about it. I told her that they didn't need the money and I had better ways of spending $200 than to gift it to my brother so he could get drunk with his friends more. She said that I'm treating them like kids by restricting how they spend their money. I replied that I was not going to subsidize my brother through them and that from now on, the amount they got from me would be $1,100 and that if they sent him money again, I would know and reduce their money by that amount going forward. My brother called to complain to me for cutting off his money from our parents. I said that I hadn't. He was welcome to tell our parents to go back to back-breaking jobs at their age to pay for his partying in London. Then they would have my money to live off of and their wages to pay for his drinking. My boyfriend is on my side, as are many of my friends. Most of my family and people from my culture think that I'm being a jerk. However, for the last 2 months, my parents have only been spending on themselves. Not the jerk. And since your parents probably don't tell you often enough, I'll say it for them. You are an amazingly thoughtful, loving, and caring kid to your parents. You send them an upwards of $1,000 every month just so they can retire and not have to work. That's amazing. You're also reducing the amount you give them as a preventative measure to make sure they don't get taken advantage of by a spoiled son. If they give $200 now without consequences, it would eventually increase to $300, then $400, then $500, and so on and so forth. You set a boundary that will help your parents to keep their money for themselves so they can continue to remain retired and not spread themselves too thin. I had my wife served for divorce since she sided with her key-stealing entitled mother. Just because I found the thought of it humorous, I'll be referring to my wife as wifey a lot from now on. This originally started around 10 days ago, and I've not wasted time in getting the divorce started. It really didn't take me long to find and hire a divorce lawyer, and she's mean. Yes, my lawyer is a woman, and she seems pretty good at her job. She asked me a couple of times if I was really sure I wanted to do this, but once I explained my full story to her and showed some evidence, she agreed with me when I said I wanted her to start ASAP. So she got the ball rolling. Oh, this divorce is going to cost me, but I don't care. I'll rebuild my savings later as a free man. I didn't even want to rent the house I'm currently living in anyway. Wifey pushed for that. I'd have been happy staying in our old apartment we used to share until we could have actually afforded to buy a house together instead. But that's obviously never happening. I'll be paying a lot less for an apartment once we separate. Before coming home, Wifey spent some time at a cheap motel when she bailed her mother out of jail, and she even threatened to call the police on me when I went to see her there. I changed the locks with my landlord's permission while Wifey was still away and sent her a text saying I'd be doing so. But I guess she had not bothered to look since she never responded. So upon returning home, she ended up pounding on the door and screaming at me to let her in. I just watched her through the doorbell cam and let her keep it up for a while before she finally got on her phone to call me. I was already walking home from having had dinner with my best friend when she called, and I pointed out the text that she had not bothered to read. When I got home to let her in, she was puffy-cheeked, teary-eyed, and red with a bit of cat face. She was puffy-cheeked and teary-eyed. I had had a new key ready for her and told her if she gave a copy to her mother again, I'd be notifying our landlord, as they were already very angry she'd given her mother a key to begin with. Not sure what the landlord could have done, but it was enough to make Wifey comply for the moment. Plus, I'm not going to be living here much longer anyway. My mother-in-law still believes she did absolutely nothing wrong and is playing victim to Wifey every chance she gets. She's not allowed over anymore, but for obvious reasons. And I've been repeatedly called a monster by her and Wifey. I've never been more glad that mother-in-law has no friends, because then she'd be telling them all of her convoluted version of the story to paint me as the villain. I just know it. She was told how much my key collection is roughly worth and what kind of felony charges she could be facing. Though my collection was returned fully intact, so she may get the charges lessened. I'd like to hope she gets a decent punishment at least, but I'm not really counting on the system to throw the book at a manipulator like her. As I said in my previous post, Wifey also paid her mother's bail and what she owed to the pawn shop with money out of our joint bank account, and then smugly told me that she wouldn't be putting the money back. Basically, that was a terrible power move, and her only way to try and put all the cost on me. I've since removed everything I had in that account and stopped all future payments to it since she can't spend my money too. And I've changed my passwords to pretty much everything. Wifey flipped out on me once she finally checked the account a couple of days ago, because that meant that what she paid for mother-in-law's bail and reimbursing the pawn shop was all in her money only. And now there was no more access to my funds to supplement her own with. I just ignored her tantrum and went into the home office to watch anime on my computer. She banged on the door for a while, demanding I talk to her. I just stayed quiet and put on headphones. Wifey has repeatedly demanded I drop all charges against her mother and even said that if I really loved her, I would not only stop all of this, I'd cover the cost too. When I kept refusing, she moved into the spare bedroom. She tried to kick me out of the master bedroom first, but I made it clear I'm not giving up the master bedroom when she's the one at fault. She tried to start taking my stuff out, but I just blocked her while pointing my finger in her face and said, "No," like I was talking to a dog. She ended up crying and saying I was demeaning her, but I didn't care. Then for some more deception on her part, she admitted to me out of pure spite that until this mess had started, she had been planning on letting her mother come live with us full-time soon because of the state of the hoarding in her house. She boasted that she was just gonna move her in while I was at work. I told her we were supposed to be equal partners before all this happened, and I was sick of her unilateral decision-making. And as long as I'm paying 50% of the lease, her mother will not be living here. And if she tried, I'd throw all her mother's stuff out immediately. Wifey looked like she wanted to explode and stormed off to have a drink and a loud phone call with her mother in the kitchen. I just started removing her stuff from the master bedroom and left it in the other room for her. I've put a new lock on the door to the master bedroom too. I had Wifey served at her job, which she said was really embarrassing in front of her colleagues, and she flipped out on me again once she got home. Apparently, she didn't take my threats of divorce seriously until those papers were actually in her hands. She said I couldn't do this, but I told her I was done. She made it more than clear where she stands. I told her I learned a rather interesting phrase online. When people show you who they really are, believe them. And she's clearly shown me who she really is. And it's not the woman I fell in love with. That woman disappeared and got replaced with an entitled mommy's girl who refuses to act her age right after we got married, which makes it pretty obvious she did that intentionally. At this point, I don't think she ever loved me, just my wallet. I can't stay married to a woman who conned me into marrying her. Then she just started screaming at me that she wasn't a gold digger. So I asked her if she'd have been inclined to stay married to me if I had done all of the same things to her. She tried to deny it at first, then looked around like she was trying to find a better answer. Then she just gaslit to deflect as usual, but I had none of it. I told her right then and there that I'm not renewing the lease on the house with her because I don't want to live with a petulant woman child that I can't trust. And if she wants to keep the house, she can go ahead and start a new lease to move her mother in once I'm gone. Finally, that's when the real waterwork started. She said I was destroying our family. And I said, "What family?" and pointed out that we don't have any kids and her mother is more important to her than me. We have no family. Then I just walked away. She loudly cried in the living room for hours, but I ignored her. Now she's giving me the hardcore silent treatment and won't look me in the eyes. I'm actually enjoying it, which just seems to make her angrier. As an added bonus, I warned my landlord about Wifey wanting to move her mother in. I gave him all the details I had about mother-in-law, the state of the hoarding at her house, and how much of a deceptive mommy's girl Wifey is. And I warned them that if he let my mother-in-law live in any property he owns, she would turn it into an utter disaster. He thanked me for telling him and is now not going to let Wifey renew the lease on her own if she tries to. He'll be advertising the property soon. Wifey has no idea yet and likely would have only just been barely able to afford the house with her mother's help anyway. One more thing. Yesterday, someone warned me to take my name off the joint bank account entirely so I wouldn't be on the hook for any overdraft. I took that to heart and went to the bank to get it done. Only took a few minutes to do it, and the bank is 10 minutes away by car. All good now. I've been working from home lately, so I had the time. All statements from the account were already printed and given to my lawyer too, so I can wash my hands of it. Edit. I don't know if it's the same rules everywhere, but the bank had no problem removing my name from the account as a co-signer when I pushed for it. There were no debts on the account and had plenty more than the minimum balance. The bank likely did tell Wifey, but whether or not she knows I did it, it doesn't matter as she's currently not talking to me. My boyfriend is moving in with his female best friend and their closeness makes me uncomfortable. So my boyfriend and I have been together for just under a year. When we first started dating, he told me about Faith, one of his best friends. They've known one another since childhood and they're extremely close. I didn't have a problem with this initially because Faith had a boyfriend and the way she acted towards my boyfriend, she also acted towards another close male friend, so I thought it was just who she was. Just before Christmas, Faith and her boyfriend broke up. I never got the details, just that it was a really bad breakup. They were living together and Faith needed a place to stay, so my boyfriend offered his couch. This is where I started getting uncomfortable. I told him I didn't like some girl staying at his place like this, and he told me it's temporary, and she's his best friend, and I don't get a say in who he lends his couch out to. We argued, and eventually I relented. On New Year's, I wanted to go back to his place after the celebration at my friend's place, but he said Faith is there, and we wouldn't be able to hook up, and I got annoyed and said that she can listen to it for all I care. He got annoyed at that and said he's not doing that. I asked him when she plans on getting her own place, and he said she's looking, but it's hard to find something in her price range. I went home alone that night. A week ago, he wasn't feeling the greatest, so I wanted to surprise him with food, so I showed up to his apartment, and she answered the door in a tank top and very small pajama shorts. When she went to have a shower, I asked him if she walks around like that all the time, and he said yes and saw me get annoyed and told me not to start. I asked him how he'd feel if I had a close male friend living with me walking around half-dressed, and he said he'd be uncomfortable, but he'd trust me not to do anything. I told him I do trust him, but it's still a boundary for me, and I asked again when she's moving out. That's when he dropped the bomb on me that the two of them have decided to look for a place together once his lease is up in March. I lost it. She heard us fighting and came out of the shower, dressed somewhat, and asked what was going on, and I told her I'm not comfortable with any of this. She apologized and said I better find a way to be comfortable with it. He didn't say anything, and when I said, "Seriously?" he sighed and told me that she's right, that she's been his friend longer than I've been in his life, and that this will benefit them both in the long run, so this is what's happening. I asked what's going to happen if we wanted to move in together, before the lease to whatever place they're getting is up, and he said that's something we can discuss if and when it happens. I was so unbelievably mad and insulted that I just left. I texted him later and asked him to think about what's more important, living with her or our relationship, and he said that sounds like I'm giving him an ultimatum, and I said that's not what I'm doing, but he's being unreasonable. We've been texting since, but it feels like it's probably the end of our relationship. I brought up my discomfort about everything, including how close they are to my best friend, and she said there's nothing I can do, and I will lose 100% of the time, which kind of upset me, because if he saw a future with me at all, then shouldn't he want to fight for us and make me feel comfortable in the relationship? Update. I texted him Thursday, sometime after I made the post, that I wanted to come to his place and pick up some of my stuff. All he replied with was, "Sure." Last night after work, I went to his place, and when I got there, I texted him that I was in the parking lot and told him to bring my stuff down. I really didn't want to deal with Faith, like at all. He eventually came downstairs with a box of my stuff. I went there with every intention on just getting my things and walking away, not saying anything. But I don't know, it was like word vomit. I couldn't stop myself, and I asked him how long they had been hooking up. He kinda laughed and said, "It really doesn't matter now, does it?" And I said it kind of does if he's been hooking up with both of us at the same time. He said the night I stormed out of his place when he was sick was the first time that they hooked up since we'd been together. I didn't ask if they had been together before me. I feel like the way he worded his answer confirmed that they have a history of hooking up, but maybe I'm reading into it. The last thing I said to him was that he needs to figure out his crap because no woman is going to play second to her forever. I got in my car and left without letting him respond or looking for a reaction. It didn't feel great to know that he cheated on me, even though I kind of expected it, to be honest. I think I'm somewhat between anger and indifference right now. I've deleted and blocked both of them on literally everything. I just want to move on from all of this. I know some of you are going to say it's a lesson to be learned, but all I learned from this is to make sure the next guy has no history with any female friends before it becomes a relationship, because forget that. I will never date a man with a female best friend. Never. Straight men and women can't be friends without someone catching feelings. I don't care. Bring on the downvotes. Agreed. This has been my experience with every single male friend. Eventually they come around like, "I have something to tell you." What? That the friendship is over? Also, they only really go out of their way to befriend attractive women. Ever witnessed an unattractive woman surrounded by a ton of guy friends? Me neither. I don't date men with female best friends. I have great guy friends I love dearly. I'd never have a problem with my husband making or keeping lady friends. But best friend? Nah, I don't need a man who is that intimate with another woman. Fact is, men will hook up with anybody who lets them. I lost half my best friends after breaking up with my boyfriend and learned that lesson quick. Faith is absolutely going to destroy every relationship this guy tries to have. She's a pick-me girl. She enjoys the status of being his closest girlfriend and likes to assert the power of that over other women, but she doesn't really want him. Not that I have any sympathy, given he was quite happy to let her do that and cheated with her when it suited him. This is why setting boundaries is so important. I've got a woman I've been friends with for years, and we have hooked up in the past during times when we were both single. But we agreed and stick to some very simple rules if either of us gets into a relationship. We're honest with our partners about our past history. We don't do anything date-like together by ourselves. We don't hang out at one another's place without at least a couple of friends present. We don't crash at one another's place without our current significant other present, even if our other friends are present. Despite our long history together, our current significant others always come first. The only time we relax these rules is if both of our current significant others are comfortable with them. My current significant other is absolutely fine with her now, but that trust only got built with clearly established boundaries at the beginning, and that's why we stick to them. Current significant other now knows that when I go over to friend's place for a few hours of alone time, the only thing we'll be doing is playing video games. Talk about overcomplicating things. Am I wrong to have asked my girlfriend to distance herself from the friend that she kissed and who's still interested in her? Before my former girlfriend and I got into a relationship, she had kissed a guy at a party when she was drunk. For validation, he was part of her friend group. When she and I were in a relationship, I noticed how sometimes they would banter. Her hand would be on his shoulder or arm, or vice versa. I personally didn't see him as a threat because to me, he just comes off as a nice guy, not super attractive, but I didn't like the thought of him thinking that he had a chance with my girlfriend and enjoying the moments of them bantering with ulterior motives. I told her that I don't like how they act around each other because of their history, and I would prefer it if she would distance herself from him. She said that he's part of her friend group. She can't do that, and she doesn't have any interest in him. When I asked her how she would react if the roles were reversed, she said that she would want me to distance myself from the girl, yet she didn't change any of her behaviors towards him. Multiple months later, I broke up with her for other reasons, and that guy shortly after hit on her and asked how she liked the kiss that they had in the past. According to her, she had answered him that she doesn't remember it since she was drunk. She then admitted that she did feel disrespected by him because our breakup was so recent, yet they are still friends. They still hang out with each other in the friend group at least. Just seeing him makes me mad at her even though the relationship is over, but it reminds me of her disloyalty and disrespect towards me. Would I have been wrong during the relationship if I had even asked her to very obviously distance herself from him, like treating him rather as an acquaintance who is in the same friend group, meaning no physical touching and trying to avoid him as much as possible? Am I wrong for still judging her in my head that she's still friends with him, even though he was just waiting for her to be single to hit on her again, but pretends that they are friends, even after everything she said that he is not a bad guy and just a sweet guy? You weren't wrong to ask that while she was your girlfriend. Now that you've broken up, her friends and that guy are none of your business. Let go of worrying about what could have been. These painful memories and what-ifs are like an exhausting treadmill. Best to let it all go. You did the right thing in leaving, and your concerns were absolutely valid. My girlfriend is trying to make me shower more than once a week. Not gonna happen. I, 24 male, know that a lot of people will just look at the title and just say I'm in the wrong because of the stigma. But hear me out. It's winter where I live, so I'm consistently cold and not really sweating or anything. I usually shower when I feel gross, and it usually takes me 5 to 6 days before I actually start to feel gross. I'm not crazy. In the summer when it's hot and sticky, I shower every 2 to 3 days like normal, but it just doesn't feel necessary in the winter. Anyway, the inciting incident here was on Sunday. I was ordering more shampoo and commented on how the price had almost doubled since last time. My girlfriend, who's 29, asked when I last ordered it, and it was sometime in mid-2020. She was shocked. How did it take you almost 3 years to go through a single bottle of shampoo? I told her that I don't use a lot, and eventually we got into how frequently I shower, and she acted like I was crazy. She didn't even know that I was averaging 1 shower a week because I keep good hygiene. I groom myself regularly, and I wear deodorant, so I don't think anyone can really tell the difference. Then my girlfriend, we'll call her Granite, just starts going on about how, oh, that explains the smell, and stuff like that. I totally think she was just making it up at this point. I've been dating her for 2 years, and she's never commented about my smell or anything. There's no way she just happened to decide that I smell bad now that she knows my shower schedule. She's just trying to shame me. We argued for a while about it, and then she went home. Today, I saw my mom, who's 56, for lunch, and I told her about it. She agreed with me that it's fine and that she's never thought that I looked greasy or unclean. My mom also said that I should consider showering at least a couple of times a week if Granite has a problem with it. But if she can't actually tell the difference, why bother? I'm considering trying to say that I'm showering every other day, but keeping my normal routine. If she can actually tell the difference, she will know. But if not, then it will just be a little white lie. Is this wrong for me to do? Am I a supervillain just because I'm not following the societal norm? I remember reading that overshowering can cause head lice, but no one even talks about that. Reddit, has anyone else been in a similar scenario? Update. Hey everyone, appreciate the comments from people who are kind and tactful in their replies. I've done some research after seeing the overwhelming amount of responses, and I'm going to start showering more to prevent the buildup of harmful bacteria. Also, some people pointed out that I accidentally said granite for the fake name. I'm dyslexic and I meant to put garnet. Thanks for coming out, everybody. Hope you all have a good night. You're the jerk. Look, I only shower every 2 to 3 days too. It's better for your skin and hair moisture. Can't find anything about head lice though, and I don't know where you're in so much contact with lice that it's a concern. But your girlfriend is much closer to much smellier parts of you than your mom is. It's entirely possible she's been playing down your smell so she didn't embarrass you. Now that she knows it's a stubborn choice at her expense, she's not going to power through. If you're worried about your skin, make them cold showers and moisturize after. Boss told me to deep clean the back and to not come out to the front for any reason, so I did. I'm a 20-year-old male that works at a very popular restaurant in a very snobby area. My main job is to assist the servers in any way I can, so they only have to worry about sweet-talking the customers. I do all the heavy lifting for them, whether it's cleaning their tables or taking their drinks and food to their tables. I'm doing it, and all they have to do is focus on making the customers laugh. They get tips that range from $17 to $40 per table, while I make $8 an hour, and I get treated poorly. Enough backstory. Cue the malicious compliance. My manager came up to me in a "I'm better than you" mood and told me to deep clean the floors, ice makers, walls, trash cans, and racks, and to not come to the front for any reason. I'm very annoyed at this because none of those things are my job duties. We have a staff that deals with all the cleaning of the back, so it didn't make any sense to have me do it. These tasks would have taken me an hour and a half max, but I was feeling a bit cheeky and decided to really deep clean the back until it was spotless. About 30 minutes later, the same manager comes up to me and tells me that there are 4 tables that need cleaning and 2 other tables just got set, and I need to bring their drinks to them. I looked at this man with a stare of a 20-year-old that has no bills to pay, and I said, "No, I'm not done cleaning." He looked shocked and responded angrily, "You can finish later. They need help." And I countered with, "No, it's filthy here. We don't want a health inspector to just walk into this filth, do we?" He storms off like a toddler that didn't get their candy. 2 hours go by and I'm on my hands and knees scrubbing as if I was working for Chef Gordon Ramsay himself. The same manager comes back again with a smirk and says, "Wow, this looks like it's going to take you all day long. Maybe you should come to the front and help the servers since there's a huge Sunday rush." I replied with, "You know, you might just be right," and I go back to cleaning. He storms off again. Fast forward to 2 minutes before my shift ends. My knees, legs, and fingers are all aching from cleaning. I shuffle my way to the front where my manager has been waiting for me, and he says, "You finally decided to come help, huh?" And I look at him without saying anything and clocked out. And then I tell him, "Sorry, I'm not clocked in." I walked out to my car while he was blowing my phone up. I didn't care. I had 5 days off back to back, and he can't fire me since I did as he told me to. The moral of the story is, don't think you're better than someone that has nothing to lose. Karen gave my phone number to a strange guy who I want nothing to do with. I, 35 female, am a single mother to 2 kids who are 5 and 3. Both my kids are in daycare, and over the years, I've built a solid friend group with a handful of other moms, and our kids regularly get together for playdates. The father of my kids is not in the picture at all, and my relationship with him is non-existent. This is 100% for the best, and I'm currently in therapy to deal with a lot of things that he put me through. This friend group has literally been a lifesaver for me at times. A few months ago, there were 2 new kids that started at our daycare center. They're similar in age to my kids and were placed in the same classes as them. I noticed that their dad was the only parent to ever pick up or drop off the kids. He would try to make small talk with me a few times, but I'm uncomfortable around strange men, so I would be polite but not engage further than that. Our mom group has a group chat that we use to support each other and arrange playdates. A few weeks ago, one of the moms texted the group chat that she was adding this new dad to our group chat because he wanted to have his kids participate in playdates outside of daycare. I privately texted that other mom, and I told her I don't feel comfortable with a man I don't even know having my contact information, and I told her that she should have consulted all of us before deciding on her own to add him to our group chat. I then texted the rest of the moms and told them that I want them to keep a separate group chat without the other dad because I don't know him and it makes me uncomfortable. This resulted in a lot of divided opinions, with about half of the moms agreeing to a separate chat and the other half saying that would be too difficult to keep track of and that it's wrong to exclude another parent just because he's a man and that I'm being unreasonable. The mom I texted privately replied to me that she has talked with this dad numerous times and that he seems like a nice person and a good parent, and that his kids shouldn't be excluded if they want to hang out with their friends outside of daycare. She told me I'm being difficult and making this all harder than it needs to be. The other day when I picked up my kids, my 5-year-old was upset because a bunch of his friends were talking about a playdate that he wasn't invited to. I texted the moms about it, and they said that they were getting the kids together with the new dad and didn't invite my kids because of how I was acting. I told them it was rude to exclude my kids like that, and a couple of the moms told me to grow up because that's exactly what I was trying to do to this dad and his kids. I'm at a loss because these moms have been so supportive to me in the past, and as soon as this dad comes into the picture, it's like they pulled a 180 and don't seem to care at all. There are still other moms who agree with me, but now it's like our friend group has been divided by this. You aren't the bad guy for not wanting your personal contact information shared with a person you don't know, regardless of their gender, or for not wanting to participate in activities where people you don't know are present. This is a boundary that you're welcome to set, but you do not get to dictate what the other moms in the group do. Those who criticized you for setting this boundary were wrong, but it sounds like they ultimately respected it by not inviting you to an event where the dad would be present. The only person you can dictate gets to be in this friend group is yourself. Trying to exclude anyone else for any reason, when it's not a group consensus, makes you the jerk here. Set your boundaries and enforce them, but remember, boundaries do not force a behavior or action on others. It's about what you will accept. I will not be participating in activities or group chats where men I don't know are present is perfectly acceptable and enforceable. I don't want men I don't know in our group chat or at group activities is not a boundary, it's trying to control the group. Don't get upset when people respect your boundaries because what you really wanted was for them to pick you over someone else. You're the jerk. You're the jerk. You called him a strange man when you have barely had a conversation with him and have not pointed out anything to warrant him as strange, which makes it seem like you just have an issue when a man is the sole guardian of his kids. And the other moms are correct. You're being hypocritical to want to exclude him and his kids from conversations and playdates, but then you get upset when the same happens to you. What if he's a widow? What if his ex is bad like yours and he's trying to recover with his kids like yourself? Could you imagine if you and your kids were excluded from the group because you did not fit the normal family type, not married to the father of your kids? Would that make you feel bad? Now imagine how he feels, being excluded just because he's a man and is present in his kids' lives. Do better, OP. If you don't, it will most likely be your kids that end up being excluded. You're the jerk. No wonder your baby daddy isn't in the picture. You sound absolutely unbearable, and your kids are really going to have a lot of problems because of your bitterness and hostility. I came home and my wife is gone. I have a great ability to hide my cheating, but also haven't seemed to need it because my wife works all the time and we do have a great love life, so I would be shocked if she even suspected I was doing what I was doing. That's why I'm going crazy right now. I come home from work yesterday and usually my wife gets home about 30 minutes after I do. When I realized it's getting late, I called and got no answer. I check our room and her things are gone. She left the house completely untouched, took all of her clothes, but left no note. I can't get in touch with her through phone, email, her friends won't answer. She must know, right? Why wouldn't she ask me? Who finds out and just leaves? Is it possible she doesn't know and left for someone else? Let her go. You're done for. She will contact you with your next instructions, likely will be served soon. OP, didn't she technically abandon the home? How can she serve me? Update, 9 hours later. She's a sociopath. She's known for months. She hooked up with me and smiled in my face for months. I now know that she knows. She is known for months. She's been more deceitful about knowing than I have about doing it, and maybe that's why I'm so angry. I can't even have interest in my affair partner now. This is not what I want. How do I not go through this? I wouldn't have done it if I thought she'd find out. Sorry, I'm just desperate. I definitely need to fix it because I need to know how she even found out. Okay, what did you think would happen if and when she found out? Were you disappointed that she didn't scream and cry and play the pick me game? She found out and decided it was a deal breaker on her end. You got off easy. No arguing, screaming, and crying. No therapy or malicious compliance to sit through and pay for. Probably took those months to stash some cash, find a place, or another guy. Don't think there's any way to fix this. OP. Maybe a little. I don't know why I felt this way. But yeah, I guess I wanted to see some kind of reaction. I know it doesn't make sense, but it's just how I feel. She makes most of the money, so that's another thing that sucks. I'll basically have to ask her for some kind of support to keep living the kind of lifestyle we've been living. I wish she would fight me. Seems like she's willing to let everything go, including her own money, just to avoid me. It's making me feel like I don't even know her. Update the next day. I just found out what happened now from her mom. One of my wife's interns works a second job at the hotel where a fair partner and I met, 3 towns away. But my wife had a picture of us on her phone screen, so she recognized me. After that, I guess she called my wife the next time we were there, and my wife stopped in to confirm, then left. What's getting to me is that this was in March. I never saw any changes in her. Update. I finally talked to my wife this afternoon. I've been in our house since Thursday night by myself, pretty much clueless as to what was going on until her mother, who she has very little contact with, reached out to me. I was caught. I've been caught since March. Wife texted me today saying she had intended to contact me through a lawyer and just let the divorce do the talking. But since her mother decided to contact me, she would answer any questions I had if I had a desire to speak to her. Clearly I did. I asked her why she stayed around after she knew and how she just lied to me like that. She said it wasn't her intention, but she shut down to figure out what she needed to do regarding our relationship and herself. At the end, she said something like, she realized she still loves me, but doesn't respect me, and she said she thinks that I love her, but don't respect her either, so we should go our separate ways. She already got her job to move her to the city she's been asking me to move to for a long time now, and said she'd like to sell me half of the house if I wanted, and if not, we can list it. But I guess our lawyers will handle that paperwork, and I still have no idea if I want our house without her in it. I'm glad I talked to her, but I'm sad at how moved on she is. She did cry a little bit, but then stopped. I asked for therapy, and she said I should have asked for that when I realized I had impulse control issues. I've been drinking for 48 hours now, and I'm sorry for the rant. I don't think it's losing her that's hurting me, but losing like this. Well, that was a wild read. The mental jujitsu this guy has to do to make her the bad guy would be exhausting to anyone with a normally developed sense of morality. Can't get over him thinking her exit was just as deceitful as his cheating. But babe, why are you divorcing me months after you found out I was cheating? What about my feelings? How could you do this to me? Hey Reddit boy, why do people make such stupid decisions? You thought that was bad? How about this one? Today I messed up by spending $90,000 on a Dodge Charger. Last year, at the ripe age of 24 and suddenly flush with cash, I thought it would be a genius move to buy a Dodge Charger Hellcat. Not just any Charger though. I paid a whopping $90,000 for it, way above the sticker price, right when the car market was at its 2022 peak thanks to lockdown pricing bubble. Talk about timing, right? It was great for about 2 weeks, but then I realized that this thing was eating me alive. The insurance, $800 a month. Gas, $600, plus $20 every time I floored it. That was more than my rent. Cut to last month, I'm driving home from work, I take a corner too fast, and boom, I've managed to total this beast. Went to my insurance, and they're only willing to cough up $55,000 for it, thanks to the muscle car market taking a nosedive. There I was, thinking I had made a smart investment, only to end up with a negative $35,000 facepalm moment. Everyone had warned me. The market's inflated, they said. You're paying way too much, they warned. Did I listen? Nope. I was too caught up in the dream of roaring down the streets in that V8 supercharged monster. The crash itself was like a slap back to reality. Beyond the twisted metal and lost dreams, it hit me how massive a financial blunder I had made. That $35,000 gap wasn't just about the money. It was a lesson in humility and the value of financial wisdom, or my lack of it. This mistake wasn't just about wrecking a car, it was about wrecking my financial stability over a moment of impulsive pride. If there's any silver lining here, it's the hard-earned wisdom that comes from learning the hard way. To anyone reading this, Let my mistake be your lesson. In the world of big purchases, especially in a volatile market, don't let your impulses take the wheel. Just breathe and relax. And for the love of all that's financially sane, if you ever find yourself suddenly rich and eyeing a high-performance car, maybe just don't. Or at least think twice. Do your research, and for goodness sake, wait out the market frenzy. My wife and I are having problems over one of her friends that she goes skiing with. Plus update. Background. My wife is an avid skier. She tries to ski every chance she gets, and that's often multiple times a week. I'm very supportive of this, as it seems like a good way for her to relieve herself of stress, and it generally makes her happier. She's made multiple close friendships through this hobby, male and female, and some weekends they take ski trips to resorts out of town. I ski sometimes, but I'm not an enthusiast, and this group wants to tackle a lot of challenging runs that I'm not capable of at my current skill level. Also in the off-season, they do other activities to maintain their fitness. None of this has ever been a problem until recently. A few months ago, my wife went trail running with a guy named Josh that was new to the group. I didn't know she was going alone until after she came back. I found that a little unusual since she usually goes with a couple of her girlfriends and maybe one other guy. Also, she had never really done this activity before. The next thing that happened that I thought was unusual was when she got sick during lockdown, so she was isolating from me. She wanted to watch a movie on Amazon Prime, and I told her to bring me her laptop so I could take care of the two-factor authentication stuff. While I was using her laptop, she seemed cagey and agitated and was hovering a little too close to me considering we were supposed to be isolating. At this time, I noticed she was looking at a love horoscope for her sign and Josh and one of those recently closed tabs. This didn't sit right with me, and I was stewing about it. My wife noticed, and she asked why I was upset, and I confronted her. She told me the horoscope thing was just a curiosity, and she looks it up for other people as well. I find this hard to believe. She offered me her phone to look through her messages, and I went through them. There were a lot of messages for a text chain that started only a couple of months ago. Probably more than we exchanged in the same period. Mostly her sending him memes and friendly back and forth. To me, it seemed excessive, and it looked like she was going out of her way to keep a conversation going with Josh. There was also a provocative exchange she made that went something like this. Josh, I would do bad things for some lasagna. Wife, oh, like what? Josh, I don't know, steal it? Wife, that's not what I was thinking. That's what I get when my mind is in the gutter. Josh, laughing emoji. To me, this looks like an unsuccessful attempt by her to escalate the conversation, but Josh, to his credit, doesn't bite. When I saw this, I pointed it out and she took blame for it and said she shouldn't have sent that. I'm shaking and very upset by all of this. My wife claims he's just one of the girls and she isn't attracted to him because he's short and he's just a good friend. All of this reminded me of an emotional affair situation that I went through with my wife 10 years ago. We've been married for 20. We got through that, and I was hoping that was behind us. In response to this, I set up 2 boundaries. 1, no more one-on-one events with Josh. 2, avoid the one-on-one texting. There's not usually a reason to text one-on-one when the same type of content can be shared in a group text. The next week, she said 2 of her girlfriends canceled on an event, and she asked if it was okay if she went alone with Josh. I told her obviously not, because that was a boundary I set, and she was annoyed with me for saying no. She met with her therapist, and her therapist largely agreed with my point of view, and she seemed to be less annoyed with me after that. I've been off and on depressed about all of this, and during that, she would ask me if there was anything she could do, and I just asked her to follow the boundaries I've set. Cut to last week, I asked her to check in on the boundaries I set. She admitted to texting with Josh again, and I asked to see her phone. There was a gap in the texting, but there was 6 or 7 consecutive days again with a lot of texting. Again, it's just benign texting, but it just seems kind of unnecessary. I don't know that we need 3 days around Christmas to text Merry Christmas and start a conversation. I don't think you need to tell your single guy friend goodnight in the evening. She says she was just giving him a resource for some technical safety gear, and she started doing it again. I'm very upset about it, and I tell her that she was ignoring a clearly set boundary, and I'm not sure how we can get past this as a couple. I find it really disrespectful and hurtful that she ignored this boundary, especially when she saw what it was doing to me. I found it very cruel. I talked to her about blocking contacts with this person and ending the friendship so that we could move on. Considering that she already violated a clearly set boundary, I felt the need to escalate. She seemed open to that initially, but was indignant about it later on. I've asked her to apologize for ignoring the boundary and disrespecting me in the marriage, promise she won't do it again, and outline some steps to ensure it won't happen again. She seems to think I'm setting up an ultimatum on friendship, but I just want a path forward I can be comfortable with. She says she wasn't doing this to be cruel. She doesn't seem all that sorry to me. She says she has a deep connection with Josh. I bet she does. But again, they're just friends. She doesn't want to end the friendship because she says she will be outside the core group of enthusiasts and the activities that they set up. My position is that my wife is acting inappropriately and disregarding my feelings by ignoring the boundary. I believe my wife loves me, but I also think she has a crush on this guy and is kind of acting on it and downplaying it. Am I overreacting? Am I being unreasonable? What should I do? Update. The funny part before the rest. I had read her the original post to show her how it looked to everyone. Her palms started to get so sweaty it left a stain on the laptop. She didn't have a lot to say about it except, "Wow, this is a lot to process." We set up a counseling appointment to work on things. The working solution we had was that she would tell me when they texted each other. My wife was following through with that, and I thanked her every time. I also told her if she slipped up in some way to just acknowledge it, not delete messages and whatnot. The counseling session was lame. The counselor seemed like he was on autopilot and just wanted to get to the Gottman books. We set up a couple of future appointments. She had a work trip coming up. We went skiing the day before, and I took her to the airport and kissed her goodbye. I texted her from time to time, and she would send pictures of the things she was seeing, but seemed a little unresponsive. I figured she was just busy with everything going on. She never called me or our daughter. She would say she was taking a bath at the end of the night. I picked her up from the airport and brought her home, and she seemed distant. I had to ask for a hug. She went skiing the next day. Things felt weird, and I checked the phone bill, and lo and behold, she called Josh for an hour one night, then he called her 2 other nights for a couple of hours. I checked her Facebook. The messages from her friends were talking about how he tried to kiss her at some point, but they hadn't cut him out of the group in any way. Also, one of her friends told her to delete messages and call logs before coming home, as I might check them. These are all garbage people. I put her stuff in garbage bags and told her off when she got home. I told her she was such a cheater, and the guy was a cheater, and they deserved each other. She didn't have much to say because she couldn't even come up with a bad lie. Filled her car up and left. I'm astounded at how morally bankrupt she is, and her friends are as well. I've met these people. They know who I am and that I'm a decent guy. I just can't imagine encouraging someone to hide immoral behavior. I asked her from the start of this mess if she wanted to exit the relationship, and she said she wanted to work things out. She saw how much pain it was causing me, and she kept doing it. You think you know people. I believe she was playing me and the guy off of each other, hinting to him that our relationship wasn't solid and maybe someday they could be a couple, while also trying to reconcile with me. She's a narcissist, and this was feeding her ego. The short term sucks because I'm stressed and it's hurting my ability to sleep. Sorry if some of this doesn't make sense. I know I'll be better in the long run, but this sucks right now. It's pretty lame that she gets to shack up with this dirtbag, and I probably won't feel like dating for years. Anyway, once a cheater, always a cheater. Trust your gut. I should have told her to buzz off a long time ago. Hope I don't get destroyed in the divorce. My girlfriend lied about our vacation, and I am beyond angry. So for context, my girlfriend and I have been together for a very long time. Everything's perfect. However, lately she and I haven't been able to see each other as often as we would like. She's busy with finishing school, and I myself have been very busy with work. So we planned a vacation together as soon as we finally had time for one another. We planned a vacation to a country we both have never been to, and where an old friend of hers lives. Let's refer to her as B. B is someone who I personally despise. She's a textbook narcissist, as well as having cheated on her boyfriend multiple times, who for the record is a pretty stand-up guy. As soon as we were planning the vacation, it became apparent that we were going to pay this friend of hers a visit, seeing as we're there anyway, as well as the fact that B's birthday is sometime during our vacation. I of course thought little of it. We'll pay her a visit for her birthday, eat some cake, and break open a bottle of wine. You know, the usual. My girlfriend knows that I despise B, but she also knows that I can play nice. I mean, it's just a day, or so I thought. A couple of weeks before our departure, she informed me that 2 other friends of hers, let's call them C and D, were also going to this same country during the same time as our trip. Once again, I thought little of it. Maybe they heard we were going, and seeing as the trip is quite cheap, Perhaps they wanted to go as well. Then I was told that they were on the same flight as us. Fine, I thought. I can deal with it. We'll have to travel with them for a little while, but after that, it's finally just me and my girlfriend getting the quality time we deserve. Then, just days prior, I found out that C and D are in the same hotel as us. In fact, they were in the exact opposite room of ours. Strange, I thought, but perhaps another coincidence. Our hotel is quite cheap, so maybe they happened to book the same one as us, and the room was just a coincidence. 2 days ago, we finally arrived, and that's when I finally learned the truth of this vacation. She had made plans with her friends on every single day. There was no time and opportunity for me to be alone with my partner. In fact, B also was going to be with us every day. In fact, she was the one who made most of the plans for our group, which I never even agreed to. And of course, B chose all kinds of things which I despise. B despises me as much as I despise her, seeing as I was the one who exposed her cheating to her boyfriend a long time ago. Now my girlfriend expects me to do everything she and her friends are going to do, which I don't want to. I wanted to have a nice calm vacation with my partner after months of us not being together. It honestly feels like she has no respect for me anymore. I talked to her about it, and she just said she doesn't know what else to do, and she doesn't want to disappoint her friends. Honestly, I'm at a loss here. I'm considering just booking a solo ticket back without telling my girlfriend and just leaving as soon as possible. It feels like I'm not even supposed to be here. I'm the fifth wheel with people I don't even like, especially not B. I'm just beyond angry. She doesn't want to disappoint her friends? But that you're disappointed doesn't count? Why are her friends more important than you are? Man, I would bounce, especially if she already knew you hated her friend. She doesn't seem to care or want to spend time with you. Sorry, man. My condolences on your newfound unplanned singleness. If your girlfriend considers a cheating narcissist as a good friend, it says bad things about her, on top of the fact that this whole thing shows that she prioritizes time with her friends over time with you. Karen demands benefits and insurance. I work on an IT help desk that's phone number is one off from a military benefits help desk number. We tend to get the other help desk's calls several times a week, which makes it often enough to include in the initial training for new employees. Normally, the person on the other end has misdialed. We provide the right phone number and we go our separate ways amicably. On one particular occasion, Sergeant Karen called and would not believe me that she had dialed the wrong number. While I appreciate that she was trying to get her family the benefits her military service more than deserved, I could not help her to get them. We've got Sergeant Karen, and we've got me. We've got awesome supervisor. Phone rings. Me. Thank you for calling my help desk. This is OP. How may I help you? Sergeant Karen. This is Sergeant Karen. I need to get this string of benefits, insurance, etc. for myself and my family. Me. I'm sorry. You've called the incorrect help desk for that. Let me get the number for the other help. No. This is the number for my help desk, and you will help me now. I have kids, and they need to be covered on my insurance. Me. I'm sorry, ma'am, but this is not your help desk. This help desk is for reporting IT issues from employees of my organization. Our number is one off from that one. It is possible you misdialed. It happens all the time. I did not misdial. I know I called the right number. This is the number I have, and you will help me now. Me. Ma'am, I am telling you, this is not your help desk. If I could help, I would, but I do not work there and have no way of accessing their systems. Let me speak to your supervisor. Yes, ma'am. Transfer the call to awesome supervisor, who sits in the next cubicle over. Supervisor. This is the help desk. Supervisor here. How may I? No, ma'am. This is not the other help desk. Well, be that way then, jerk. Sergeant Karen had hung up abruptly when my supervisor confirmed that this was indeed not the number for the other help desk. Next we've got, we close in just a few minutes, and you want what? So this just happened moments ago, and now that I'm home, I can tell the tale. My store closes at 10 p.m. Sometime within the last 15 to 20 minutes before we shut those doors for the night, I noticed an order in our photo lab that had just come through to be processed. Went back, printed the labels, read what they were, started the order, and left. Over the span of not even 2 minutes, more orders came through, making a total of 6 orders for one person. People forget things to add last minute and don't want to lose progress in making something online. It's understandable. 13 posters, 2 canvases, and a handful of 8x10 prints. Wouldn't be done tonight, but it is normal to receive large orders. A few minutes later, the phones are ringing from an incoming call. Me. Thank you for calling the store. My name's OP. How can I help you this evening? Customer. Hi, I just placed an order a few minutes ago and was wondering when they would be ready. Me. Alrighty, what's your last name so I can check the status? Customer's name. Proceed to check the bins with completed orders, then looking at the computer screen, her name was the big order. Me. You had the posters, canvases, and the 8x10s, correct? Yes. 4 posters have been printed, and the 8x10s are still printing. Canvases are not able to start until the posters finish. Your order should be complete before 8 tomorrow morning. Customer. But I need them first thing tomorrow. Can I pick them up tonight? Cue me checking the time real quick before answering her question. Me. I'm sorry, ma'am, but we will be closing in 7 minutes. Our staff in the morning can put together your canvases, and the rest of the order can print throughout the night. We open at 7 a.m. if you wanted to ask for a more accurate time frame. Customer, angrily. Your website says 1 hour. How long does it take for you to do your job? Me, tired but trying to keep up the cheerful voice. Normally it is 1 hour, yes, but our machines can only go so fast, ma'am. The posters and the canvas products print from the same machine, and the printing time can vary depending on the size of just one image. It can vary anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes to print one thing, and that's if there isn't a mechanical malfunction that can make the image streak, or if ink needs to be changed, then it might need to be reprinted. It takes almost half an hour to put together a canvas while making sure it's crisp and correctly done. We now close in 5 minutes. The pickup time on your order automatically says that they should be ready between 9:45 a.m. and 10:05 a.m. 8 is the earliest we can get these ready for you. Now, end that with a dial tone, cause she just hung up on me. If it was someone who needed pictures for court, a classroom, anything else, so long as they were in the store before closing and it wasn't going to take long at all, both the manager and I would have stayed to help and get it ready. We've done it in the past. There's no way that would have been done before 11:30. Who's to say she would even show up? Sometimes people say they need stuff immediately and never walk into the store or come back until days later. Would you have stayed and completed the order or just told her to come back tomorrow? Please leave a comment letting me know. Next we've got just another customer who refuses to take no for an answer. I had the pleasure of fielding a phone call from a customer who refused to understand that what he was asking for simply wasn't possible. Customer. Hi, I was in your store yesterday and saw this hat I liked, but you didn't have it in black. I was wondering if you could order it into the store so I could buy it. Me. Let me check our inventory system right now. If we have it in one of our distribution centers or another store, we could absolutely place an order for you and have you pick it up at our store. I checked and we didn't carry the hat in black at all. To be clear, it wasn't that it was sold out or currently unavailable or anything like that. We just didn't carry that product in black. Never had and had no plans to do so. Me. Hi there. I just checked and it looks like we don't carry that style in black. So unfortunately, I can't order it into the store for you. Him. Really? But black is such a popular color. Why don't you have it in black? Me. I agree, it is a very popular color, but we just don't sell that style in black at all. Very sorry about that. Him. But the company that makes the hat sells it in black on their website. Me. I understand. We don't sell that hat in black, but if you want to, you could buy it from that company directly. Him. Your store had a better price for it. I'd really prefer to buy it from you if you could order it in. So not only does he want us to order this item in for him and him alone, he also wants us to sell it to him at a discounted price. Me. Right. The thing is, if we as a store were out of stock, but we carried it as a chain, I could order it in for you. But since we don't carry it at all, I have no way to order it for you. Him. You couldn't just order one in for me? I'm a loyal customer. I bought something the last time I was in. Me. Unfortunately, we just don't have that style in black in our system at all. There's no way to order it in, and in terms of distribution, we can't place orders for just one item. Here's where I started getting really frustrated with his refusal to accept that what he was asking for just wasn't possible. Him. Well, what if you order a few in? Me. I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do for you. I don't control our distribution or what products we stock. Him. Well then, can I speak to your manager? I'm sure he'd be happy to order in a product for a loyal customer. At this point, I'm happy to have an out from this conversation, even if it means potentially annoying my manager with a frivolous phone call. Me. Sure thing. I'll put your call through to him. It'll just be a moment. Him. Actually, can you put me on hold and lay some groundwork with your manager? Let him know I'm a loyal customer. I just bought something recently. I really want to buy this hat through you. And then, when you have him on my side, then can you put the call through? Me. I'm going to connect you to my manager now. What I didn't tell him was this. I'm definitely going to lay some groundwork with my manager in terms of apologizing for sending him this call and letting him know how persistent and annoying you've been up until now. My manager took the call, came up a few minutes later and just said, "Don't worry about it. He understands he's not getting the hat through us." If I had to do over, I would have been more brief and just let him know it wasn't possible and then hung up on him. It's still crazy just how far people will push it to get things exactly how they want them. If you were handling a customer like this, what exactly would you tell them? Please let me know in the comments. Next we've got Entitled Dad Takes My 3,000 Euro Guitar. March 2019. I used to play guitar for many years. I started when I was about 6 or 7 and had to quit after my 3rd year of university, since Italian law school is extremely hard. Now that I finally graduated, I decided to start playing again. When I quit, I sold or gave away many of my guitars, keeping just my first one as a memory of my granddad, who I lost 2 years ago. So, first things first, I looked for a good instrument. Since I couldn't find one, I wanted an 8-string guitar, since I usually play really heavy stuff. I ended up with a luthier custom-made beast. Since I also found a really well-paying job, I decided to treat myself, as I never had good instruments, and this is the very first one I've ever bought that cost more than $200 or $300. It was a dream come true. Fast forward a bit. January 2020. I was at this shop, which is also renowned for being really good with setups, and of course, I brought my guitar with me so that they could take a closer look and inspect it. I was at the shop's counter for maybe over an hour, since most of the employees are my friends, and we started talking about stuff like how we were doing, news, albums, etc. Also, it took them some time to give me an answer about my setup, since I had really specific requests. Introduce Poor Kid and Entitled Dad. While the kid started looking around with his eyes shining, his dad immediately started complaining about, "Where the heck is everyone here? I have a job, and I can't waste my time like this." I was minding my own business on my phone when I felt someone tapping at my back. It was Poor Kid. "Excuse me, sir, can I look at your guitar?" I put away my phone and said, "Of course," and took a step back. He was amazed and started asking questions about it, like why does it have 8 strings? What do I play? What's my favorite band, etc. He then thanks me and gets back to the guitars he was looking at. As the kid goes away, his father comes to me with an annoyed face. "Hey there, that's a nice guitar you have." "Thanks, sir. So, is your son buying his first one?" His son was probably about 10. "Yeah, but these ones cost too much, and I saw he liked yours. How much did you pay for it?" "Well, I won't be suggesting you to buy an instrument like this as his first one. This guitar is a custom handmade one. It was pretty expensive." "Like 400 euro? "No, actually, I paid a bit more, like 3,000 euro. "Don't lie. There is no way a piece of wood can cost that much money. I'll give you 90 for it." "I'm sorry, what?" "You heard me. I said 90 euro for your guitar." I was shocked. I never had to face an entitled dad before, and I was literally speechless. "Okay, I'll give you 100 euro, but nothing more than that." "Sorry, but it's not for sale. And even if it was, I could never sell it for, what, 1/30th of its price?" "Now you're just being mean. It's for my kid. Can't you do something nice and sell it to him?" "No, this is my first good guitar, and there are literally hundreds of them here. I'm sure you can find something he likes that you can afford." "But he likes yours." And as he said that, he started trying to reach for it. I blocked his arm without hurting him. My guitar has a really thin neck, and it can be damaged or even snapped if handled carelessly. "What are you doing?" "Come on, be a grown man. If you bought it once, you can buy it another time." "Absolutely no." "Please, sir, stop harassing me or I'll call the owners." He burst into a laugh, before starting screaming how I was supposed to give it to him, that he knew the owner of the shop, who was one of his closest friends, and that he would call the police because I assaulted him when I grabbed his arm. The poor kid came close to us, looking deluded at his father, saying that he was embarrassing him and stopped doing what he was trying to do, and that he always did that. The entitled dad looked at his son with anger and yelled to him, "Go away and look at those stupid guitars." By that time, the cashier and the owner were back, since they probably heard the commotion. "Is there something wrong here?" As I was saying no, the entitled father started ranting about me being mean to both him and his son, that I had assaulted him, and that now he demanded me give him my instrument. Otherwise, he would have to call the cops on both me and the owner. I was so confused that I couldn't even understand how furious I was at that point. The owner looked at him, and when entitled dad finally finished with his nonsense, turned to me. "Was he really trying to take your instrument, OP?" "Well, yes, but I stopped him because I was worried he would have taken it from the neck, damaging it." "Sir, we have cameras everywhere. I know OP, and he would never do such things. I ask you and your son to leave, or we'll have to call the police." "You can't do that. I was assaulted." The owner clearly had enough of that, so he took out his phone and started dialing for help. The dad went to grab his kid and stormed out of the shop, yelling how incompetent the owner was, how I had been a horrible person, and many other funny things I can't report. I felt bad for his son though. He was really kind, and I saw how he would have liked a brand new guitar to start playing, so I run after them, and ignoring the father, I asked the kid if he wanted an instrument. He was crying, but as I asked him that, he gave me a smile as bright as the sun. He went back, spent a good hour while his dad was waiting by the entrance, trying different guitars, and he ended up choosing a Fender all-in-one pack, since he would have needed an amp as well. I understood that his father was not going to be able to afford it, and I decided to buy it for him myself. He was the happiest kid I've ever seen. He and his dad got out of the shop, and I was finally able to get all the details about the work I wanted to be done on my rig, paid my deposit, and of course, bought some PICS. When I finally got out from the shop 10 minutes later, I noticed that the dad was waiting outside. His eyes were red, and he started apologizing for his behavior. He explained to me how he used to work for a construction company, but he eventually got fired as the company declared bankruptcy. My granddad runs his own construction company, so I knew the one he was talking about. Pretty nasty stuff. Manager caught stealing profits, unpaid shifts and work days, forced closure, no liquidation whatsoever. Judges even took some money from the workers to pay for the debts the managers made. There were no doubts why this man was having his way more than fair share of BS. He kept thanking me for what I had done, that he was feeling horrible, and how his son was absolutely loving his brand new instrument. The three of us went to a bar and had a coffee and chatted for a bit. At the end of the day, the entitled dad was really just a parent struggling to get by month to month. I know what it feels like. I've been through some stuff myself, and I know how you can end up being a total jerk when you see no way out of your situation. I'm glad that it all sorted itself out in the end. They were genuine and good people, just having a rough time, and I couldn't be happier knowing that maybe I bought the next Steve Vai's first guitar. Speaking of guitars, do you play any instruments yourself? Please leave a comment letting me know. Next we've got, "We don't discriminate here, ma'am." First post here, but I never thought I'd have to since Karens are uncommon in our poor country. This was just a few hours ago, and it didn't happen to me, but I was there when it did. There's this small supermarket I pass by on my daily commute. It's a small, 2-cashier lane, higher price store that's located right beside a rich gated community. Anyways, I frequent this store just to get their imported sodas that aren't commonly found elsewhere. It was a slow day, and there were 2 people in front of me in the payout while the other lane was closed. Understandable, as there were only 3 paying customers. Here enters the cast. We've got me, we've got poor guy, we've got Karen, we've got the store clerk. Here I was, just waiting for my turn and looking out the window, and when I look back, a Karen had somehow teleported beside me as if to take my spot. I look at her directly and step back in line as the guy before me moves. I was now second in line, with only 2 bottles to buy, but I hear an irritated huffing noise. Poor guy walks by, wearing an electrician's overalls colored orange and gray. All the store employees wore black pants, a white shirt, and a black apron. The Karen grabs his arm and complains, "Why are you people not opening the other cashier? It's a big lane, and you're making us wait." She spoke English, but we're in Asia. Everybody here speaks English fine, but it's kind of snobbish in a casual setting. Poor guy says in our language, "Sorry, ma'am, but I'm also just a customer." Karen, "Oh, sorry. She sounded sincere. Poor guy bows his head twice and walks away to get stuff. Meanwhile, she looks back, irritated, and finds store clerk to question. "Hey, why is there only one lane open? We're waiting here. And besides," points with her lips to poor guy, "why do you let people like that in here?" I turn back as I hear this. The store clerk, with dead eyes as if having to put up with this regularly, speaks in a solid and clear monotone. Store clerk in our language, "Ma'am, we don't discriminate against selling to less fortunate people here." Everybody stops for a bit, and I stifle a laugh. I turn around to see the second lane open up. I start paying for my 2 bottles, but I hear the Karen place her things sheepishly behind me. I turn around and give her a deadpan look. I take my stuff with a chuckle and walk out. Kudos to you, store clerk. Next we've got, entitled teacher takes my laptop and accuses me of cheating. So it's exam season, and I'm in the extra care group. This group requires a bit of a boosty during an exam, and for me, I require a laptop and alone space. I have a few psychological issues, and my hands are incredibly shaky constantly, so I use a laptop for all of my exams rather than handwriting it. I have been since year 9, and I'm currently year 13. One major issue with me is I can't think straight unless I talk out loud. I can do this in a hushed whisper, but it's why I have to be alone. I'm seated at the back of a large hall with my computer far away from everyone else so I can freely explain my thoughts to myself while tapping away. Before I get on with this story, I should explain Mr. M. Mr. M is a high-end teacher with 2 students in this school. Neither are important for this story. Mr. M prioritizes those students heavily and puts them in the best classes whenever he could, the classes I was in. They always got the top marks and were always winners in some sort of contest. I, being the quiet-minded kid who focused much more on daydreaming about Hulk fantasies, didn't care too much about these brats. I just kept on keeping on. Well, until today. I was in my history exam quietly tapping away. I was also whispering to myself as I did it, telling myself what to write as I typed. But I felt something. A very sharp tap. I looked up to see Mr. M glaring at me sharply. I didn't understand what I did wrong, so went back to silently tapping, struggling much more as I'm still very anxious about my thinking issue. Another hard tap. I turn back to him and he hisses some sort of nonsense about me cheating. I remain silent. I would never cheat in an exam. Even if I was struggling so bad, why would he accuse me of it now? The silence persisted until he muttered something about having special treatment and his son requiring the laptop. And before I could respond, he had picked it up and began walking away. Now all of this was done in a very quick and quiet movement. I couldn't react. I just sat in stunned silence. My work was gone. I had been working on this exam for an hour. I wanted to break down and cry. This was all too much for me. I was lucky Mrs. D, the one who was in charge of the exams, quickly noticed my lack of a computer. Mrs. D was the one who gave me the computer in the first place, so she knew something was up. She told me to go with her as she took me outside, where I explained everything. The lack of computer, Mr. M accusing me of cheating, being kicked out of the exam hall, everything. She listened contently, then told me to stay there and went off somewhere. From what I was told from a teacher who heard the commotion, Mrs. D had tore him a new one. She berated him for ruining my exam and stealing my property without any knowledge of my conditions. She eventually returned to me with the laptop and my memory drive. Luckily, he hadn't removed it, and gave me an extra time slip for 15 minutes. Luckily, I was able to get the exam completed, even though it left me a bit shaken up. I haven't seen Mr. M for the rest of the day, and I noticed his class was taken by a sub for this lesson. Maybe some action was taken against him. Update. I got information. Oh boy, have I got a story for you. Turns out he's been confiscating work off others and giving it to his kids to hand in. Mr. M has been removed from the college and is not allowed to teach anywhere in my country's region or the regions nearby. His kids have also been expelled due to constant cheating. He's been replaced on the exam board by a very sweet lady who I had watch over me in my media exam. I need an invigilator near me while working due to some of my issues. I'm very happy I have friends in high places, so I know about all of this and can tell you all. and hopefully I'll not see him ever again. Next we've got, other coffee shops work like this, so yours should too. I worked at a gourmet coffee shop a few years ago. If you wanted a coffee, you would order, pay, then I would hand you a cup and you would pour the coffee and add the cream/sugar yourself. Other than having to do the odd sandwich/espresso, it was a pretty easy job. A group of 4 people came in, they're dressed in suits, and just give off that aura of, I'm better than you. 3 of them sit at a table, and the 4th comes up to the register. Me, hi, can I help you? Him, hi, I would like 4 coffees, please. Me, sure, what size? Grande. We're not Starbucks. Oh, do you mean large? Sure, whatever. The first will be decaf, 3 cream. The second, me. Actually, the coffee and cream is on the table right behind you. I put the cups on the counter. Me, you just pour it yourself. Him, you don't pour it for us? Nope, but this way you can make it just the way you like it. Not the first time I've said this. And you can even get a free refill. Him, can you just do it for us, please? Sorry, that's not how we work here, unfortunately. He huffs. Ugh, well I guess we'll just have to do it ourselves then. He grabs the cups and starts to walk back to his table. Me, hey, sorry, that's actually going to be $6. Oh, we'll just pay you afterwards. We actually ask for it up front, if you don't mind. Him, we go to that other place up the street all the time. They don't charge us until afterwards. Me, unfortunately, we're not them. If we get busy, you could easily just walk out without paying. Ugh, fine. He slams down exactly $6. There, are you happy now? Yep, thank you very much. But we are probably never coming back here again. He heads to his table, and I can hear them loudly talking. We have to pour it ourselves? Are they going to pay us to do it? Let's go to the other place next time. As they filled up their coffees, one of them quirked, I guess I'm going to be the employee of the month here now. They stayed for about half an hour and made sure they all refilled their coffees before they left. I quit shortly after that. Not because of them, so not sure if they ever came back or not. Speaking of coffee, do you drink coffee yourself? If so, how do you take it? Please leave a comment letting me know. Karen tries to take my 10,000 euro telescope. I am into stargazing and deep sky photography, like the Andromeda Galaxy, since I was about 8 years old and acquired quite a bit of hardware over the years. My most expensive setup is my deep sky photography setup, which cost around 10,000 to 12,000 euro to buy new. It is also my smallest setup, as I picked it to be mobile and lightweight, so it looks rather unimpressive. Also important, it can only be used for photography. You cannot look through it by yourself, so it's useless without a very decent camera. Usually, I carry 2 other setups with me, one with a high focal length and one with a short one. Both are Doppler telescopes, which mainly means they are very stable but heavy as heck, 43 and 54 kilograms in total. Both, all in all, roughly 2,000 euro. Once a year, I go on a camping trip with my best friend to Finland. We enjoy the low light pollution and the cold weather a lot. We usually set up the telescopes right at the start and leave the 2 big ones outside for the whole duration of the stay and have the expensive one out only when we need it. It is quite normal that people are very interested, and we are more than happy to show and explain to them the basics, even though most are disappointed by the huge quality difference between what you see on a photo and with the naked eye. On to the story. We had all telescopes out, hoping to stack some nice M31 images and get a few good looks. Just as we started, a mother and her daughter came up to us. She asked us what we were doing, and my friend happily explained it to them and showed them some closer stuff in one of the telescopes while I was preparing the photography setup and programming everything. This went on for a few minutes, and after a while, the mother jokingly, not really, suggested that we should give her daughter one of our telescopes, as we are only 2 people and do not need 3 telescopes. We explained to her that the different body types are for different applications, thus we need all. We also told her that our telescopes are quite expensive, but that she could buy her daughter some beginner ones for around 200 to 400 euro. Of course, she was not going to have that and told her daughter to test the small, expensive, and just set up telescope. I could luckily stop her before she did any harm to my aim and explained the price of the setup and that our time actually runs short and we need to start soon. Of course, she did not believe a single word I said and claimed it would be a 50-year-old toy and perfect for her daughter, but we eventually got rid of her, just a little bit after schedule, which is fine for such objects. We went on with our night, had some successful shots, and somewhere around 1 a.m. decided it's time to go to sleep. So I quickly took the photography setup in the car and locked the Doppler mounting to its corresponding telescope so it cannot be moved anymore unless you move it all at once. Self-made locking mechanism, very proud. We went to our tents, and while my friend was probably already sleeping, I was still on my phone for an hour or so until I heard some noise outside. Hoping it would either be people seeing the northern lights or some wild animal like a fox, I got my shoes and sneaked outside just to see a small person in the dark, desperately trying to carry our biggest 54-kilogram telescope away. It took me a second to understand what was going on, and as I realized it, the person saw me as well and just went off as if nothing ever happened in a fast pace. Sadly, I was not fast enough in my thinking to follow the person, but I am still absolutely certain it was the mother who was trying to steal one of our telescopes, and as we would not give her the small one, which she thought is cheap, she decided she would take the biggest one, which was actually the cheapest, but looks the most expensive due to its size. We have been very lucky that no calibrations were needed after the rough handling, as every single screw has to be perfectly accurately set, which can take hours without the right equipment. And we also have been very lucky to never see that woman and her daughter ever again. For our next holiday, I am getting us a long stainless steel chain so we can lock the two big telescopes together for some extra security. Thank you for reading my first ever bad camping experience. May this never happen to any of you. Do you have a telescope or have you ever looked through one? Please leave a comment letting me know. Next we've got, Karen thinks I work there, loses it when I help her anyway. So I don't know why, but for some reason it seems like everywhere I go, I get asked if I work there. For reference, I'm a dress comfy type of person and I live in southern Florida. So on normal days, when I'm just out doing whatever and not working, you can usually find me in capri workout/yoga pants and a t-shirt of some sort and flip-flops. Maybe it's because I keep my phone on a clip on my side since those kinds of pants usually don't have pockets. Heck, I don't know. Most of the time when people ask and I smile and politely say, "I'm sorry, no," and they apologize sheepishly and walk away. Except this lady. Cast. We've got Entitled Woman, we've got Entitled Woman's husband, and we've got me. So I was out shopping at a thrift store because I like to go find things to buy and fix up, or use to make other things as a side gig for some extra money. I'm minding my own business, looking through clothing that I could use as fabric for a project when this lady walks up to me. I should mention that this particular thrift store has another thrift store literally next door. There's just a fence that separates the two parking lots and buildings. Entitled Woman. Excuse me? You. I turn and look at her, questioningly, I'm sure. She's probably in her 60s or 70s, well-dressed, typical South Florida snowbird from the looks of it. Her husband is half following her, half looking at stuff along the way as she's coming towards me. Entitled Woman. Do you work here? Before I can even answer, do you know, is today the all clothes are $1 day? That lady over there, gesturing to nobody in particular, said it was. Me. Actually, I don't work here, but this store doesn't do that. That's the store next door. I think they do have that going on today because it's this day of the week, but I haven't been over there yet. She doesn't even acknowledge that I've spoken to her. No thank yous, sorry for bothering you, nothing, and walks away. I let it go, no big deal. I just answered her question, whatever. Well, that should have been the end of it. And aside from being a bit irritating that she couldn't be bothered to acknowledge that I'd spoken to her or anything else, again, no big deal. About 15 minutes later, her husband walks over to where she's at, about 3 racks away from me, still looking through clothes. Entitled Woman's husband. What the heck, Entitled Woman? What in Sam heck are you doing with all those clothes? I see she has a cart literally overflowing with clothing items. What? They're only $1.
That girl that works here just told me that. Points at me. Entitled woman's husband. Like heck she did. You must be deaf. That girl told you that the dollar clothes were next door. I was standing right there when she said it. They don't do that here. Entitled woman. Well, she's the one that said they were. I don't want all this stuff at regular price. She pushes her cart pretty hard at me. Since you told me they were $1 and they're not, you can put them all back. Me. I didn't, and I still don't work here. I told you that as well when you clearly weren't listening. She turned on her heel and stomped out. Her husband just kind of looked at me like, what the heck, before I could see his expression turn to anger, and he quickly went after her. She didn't come back in, but I did see them outside in the parking lot when he went out after her, and it looked like she was getting a pretty good earful from him. I felt bad and asked the lady that did work there if she wanted help putting the stuff up. Her response? No, you don't work here. We laughed a bit as she rang me out and I went on my way. But seriously, where are these people raised to think that behavior like that is acceptable? I really want to know. Do you have any idea where people like this are raised? If so, please leave a comment letting me know. Next we've got Karen causes me extra hours of work because the sound was too loud for her little angel. A little bit of backstory. I do the projection in the church and occasionally the lights. I am 15 years old and I love tech. I use a Mac to do the projections of the songs in the church and have had a few encounters with entitled people, but this one is the cream of the crop. There are 2 places where we have services. One is for the kids, about 200 of them, and the other for the adults, about 1,000, while there are always 3 techies present in the services for the adults, but mostly 1 techie for the kids. I do the light there when I'm alone and the projection, and someone sets up the sound and then leaves. That person is the sound guy. This day, there was just a service for the kids, and that's why I was alone. There's a cable that goes from the Mac straight up for 7 meters, and it's attached to the ceiling. It has never been an issue before. We've got me, we've got entitled daughter, we've got entitled mother. The techies, people who do sound and projection and lights, have a podium with 2 openings on the side and a large desk where all equipment needed stands on. The Mac is in the middle, so that's where I sat. Let's get on with the story, shall we? The sound techie already set up all the audio and everything was good to go. I don't know anything about the sound. I set up the lights, different colors, etc., and the projection. First encounter. Entitled daughter comes up to the podium and says, "Turn the lights down." Really entitled. I say no. She says, "Why?" And I say, "Well, the lights are not too bright, and it looks better this way." She was disappointed, but she sat down. Second encounter. Entitled daughter comes up to me again, and she says, "The music is too loud." Really loudly, when she was only 2 meters away from me. The sound wasn't really that loud, so I said, "No, it's perfectly fine." She said, "You're annoying," really loudly, and went angrily back to her seat. Then, after 10 minutes, she got up and left. I thought nothing of it, as she probably had to go to the bathroom. But she came back with her mom. Enter entitled mom. She was rocking the Karen haircut and had this angry expression on her face, and she was coming straight towards me. She said, "Turn the volume and the lights down." I said, "No, I'm not allowed to touch the sound mixer, and even if I was, I still wouldn't do it, and I won't turn the lights down." Then entitled mom said, "Fine, I'll do it myself." She came up to the podium and I said, "You can't come here." And I guarded the tech by standing in front of her when she was trying to get past me. The singers were still singing, but I couldn't do the text because I had to stop entitled mom. The text is really important because it's what allows everyone to sing along. But I heard the kids not singing anymore because they didn't know what to sing. The Mac requires my constant focus to do the projection, and this entitled daughter came from the other opening while I was holding her mom back and trying to calm her down. She was screaming and saying, "Let me turn it down. Let me turn it down for my little angel." And she was making quite a scene. Now I saw the entitled daughter from the corner of my eye tugging a rope that went all the way to the ceiling. My brain took 10 seconds to process this, but it was too late. The entitled daughter tugged so hard, the whole cable came down with the projector and it fell 7 meters. I ran to entitled daughter and said, "What did you do?" Now the entitled mom was pulling the cables out of the back of the audio mixer and screaming at me for not listening to my elders. While I was focusing on the entitled daughter and heard a loud screech from all boxes, I had to run behind the podium to flip the main electric switch from that hall to not let the horrible sound continue. Now, some of the people went to entitled mom and entitled daughter while they were trying to steal the Mac and held them while someone else called the police. Afterwards, me and 5 other techies had to hire a platform to get everything to the ceiling again, and we were busy for hours trying to get the software for the audio and lights and Mac back into working order. Speaking of Mac, what do you prefer, Mac or PC? Please leave a comment right now letting me know. Next we've got, couldn't be any more obvious. I had received my paycheck this Thursday, and since my father was out of town for the week for work, I decided to help him out a bit more and buy his part of the groceries for the week along with my own. We usually go grocery shopping together on the weekends, but we each buy our own things since we eat different foods. Me saving up my money by getting basic ready-to-eat food like ramen noodles, potatoes, bread, eggs, stuff I know I can last a week with $10 or so, while he spends a bit more for meat, vegetables, certain ingredients, etc. Since he'd be spending a bit more money on gas for the trip back home this Sunday, I figured he probably wouldn't have too much to spend for his groceries once he got back. So I wrote down a list on my phone of the things he usually gets when we shop. Luckily, he always buys pretty much the same stuff every week, so I know what to get. Fast forward to today, Friday morning. I get up pretty early to cash my check and head to the store near my house before the lines get pretty long, as it would get colder later during the day when I'd have to return home. I make it to the store, and it seems like it's about to start filling up, so I grab a cart and start making my way through the aisles and get what we need. I fill my cart pretty quick with what I need, walking along, picking things off the shelf when I turn to the next aisle and see a woman with her cart parked sideways, blocking the area off as she looks up at an employee on a ladder reaching things off a high shelf, presumably for her. She's huffing and looking around impatiently, seemingly annoyed. I figure, poor guy, having to deal with entitled stuck-up Karen, which was odd since she didn't look like a Karen. I turned my cart to go to the next aisle, hoping she wouldn't be blocking off the area once I returned. But because my cart was getting full, it was quite heavy, and I slowly reversed and turned around. Unfortunately, I wasn't fast enough to leave and might have either made eye contact, she read my mind and noticed I called her Karen, or was annoyed that I sympathized with the employee and not her, because he was just an employee while she needed him to hurry up because she needed to pick up Jeffrey from soccer practice. Anyway, she noticed me and my turning my cart around as she turned and began speed walking towards me. At first, I didn't think anything of it. She probably saw something on a lower shelf she needed and went to pick it out. It was only when I was halfway in the next aisle when I heard her footsteps jog up next to me and grabbing my cart, actually calling out in a quite polite tone, "Excuse me." I was surprised at first, wondering why she'd go out of her way to stop a complete stranger in a polite manner, especially from seeing her from afar looking peeved and annoyed at an employee mere seconds ago. I quickly stopped my cart before I accidentally hit her or run over her foot, as after grabbing my cart, she stood in front of it. I thought maybe it's an emergency, but again, why go up to a stranger when the store associate was right there? Either way, I'm always polite to everyone I meet, and thus the conversation begins. Me, caught off guard. "Oh, yes? What's wrong? Can I help you?" Karen, still sounding polite. "Yes, I need your help." Me, "What is it?" "Come with me," as she begins to walk away. Me, "Okay." I start slowly turning my cart again to follow her. No, leave the cart there." Me, confused, but still thinking she may need actual help with something. Leave my cart to the side so I don't block the aisle and follow her. Oh, okay. Karen leads me to the previous aisle she was blocking, and her tone of voice changes. "Go get another ladder and help out your fellow associate here. He's having trouble taking items off the shelf quickly, and I want to get to the checkout line before it gets too long. You can finish stocking things later." Me, letting out a small chuckle. "Oh, sorry. I don't actually work here. I'm actually doing my own shopping." Karen, "Oh, please. I'm sure you can spare a bit of your time helping me out. Just get a ladder and help me with the things I need off those high shelves. Stocking everything doesn't take so long. I'm sure you've been here all morning putting things away anyway.
Me. I can't help you with that. Sorry, I don't work here, like I said. I'm actually just a customer, just like you. Maybe you can find an actual employee, or I can walk around shopping, and if I see someone, I can tell them someone needs assistance in your aisle.
Karen, look, I really don't have time for this. Either get another ladder or leave if you don't want to help.
The actual employee that was up on the ladder must have finally looked down, as I'm sure he was still picking her items or moving some stuff around, and pointed out to Karen. Excuse me, ma'am. He's not an employee. Karen looked up at him, then back at me, and finally noticed that I, in fact, wasn't an employee. The employee uniform at this store is a blue collar shirt with black dress pants and black dress shoes. I was wearing black jeans with a tear in the knee, white sneakers, a black t-shirt with a tuxedo design, and a gray hoodie and a beanie. I understand me walking around quickly with a cart full of stuff may look like I'm a stalker trying to work quietly, but as for the uniform, I have no idea. Karen, looking a bit embarrassed.
Oh, sorry.
Me. No, it's okay. It's all right. I make my way back to my cart and proceed to finish up my list and head to checkout, pay, and head on home. It was nice in a way to see a Karen quickly turn from snobby and stuck up to genuinely apologetic for making a mistake and owning up to it. Although rare, not the first time I've seen a Karen, but definitely my first interaction with one. Next we've got, undercut me on a job by doing poor work? Okay, just wait and see. I was an observer in this whole affair, but to say I didn't enjoy the heck out of it would be a lie. Company A did fencing, walls, barriers, etc. Company A was run by Bob. Bob was a real upstanding guy, took over the business from his father, and really grew it into something big. Bob had an employee, Jake. Jake had been with Company A for quite a few years, but Bob and Jake always rubbed off on each other in the wrong ways. Bob always felt like Jake was the king of shortcuts and shoddy workmanship. When Bob took over the company from his dad, Bob applied more pressure on Jake to bring up the quality of his work or be let go. Eventually, Jake got tired of the increased pressure and quit and formed his own fencing company called Company B. Here is where I come in. I started a job in a company providing business services to small to medium-sized businesses in the area, and both Company A and Company B became my clients. This was several years after Company B had formed. From my outside viewpoint, Company A was that local company that's been around forever that does good quality work that you can trust, but they aren't going cheap. They never try to be cheap, but you can trust them. Company B was the young startup who was cutting corners and being competitive in every way possible, often by lying or misleading its customers. That's when Company C comes in. Company C was building a production facility in the area and wanted a wall with gates around its new production facility. This was going to be a big contract, and really the only two players in the area that could possibly do this job was Company A or Company B. This contract was worth a lot. If my memory serves me correctly, the job was somewhere near 7 figures. Company A and Company B went to go bid. Company B came in at like a 30% lower price point, and even though Bob tried to explain it wasn't possible for Company B to do the work that was promised at the price point that was given, of course, money talks, and Company B got the contract. I remember Bob was furious in his eyes. He felt what Jake was doing was wrong. He didn't mind fair competition, but Jake's MO has always been way underbid, overpromise, rely on cost overruns to make a profit. Bob's opinion on business was a price is a price, and if he says he's going X for Y, he's going to do X for Y, even if he loses money. It's how he was raised. Some time goes by, and Bob gets a call from Company C. They've apparently fired Jake and his company due to not being able to do the work required, and ask Bob if he can come in and fix the mistakes. Bob agrees and gets the job done. At this point, Bob starts thinking, he's got to take Jake out. Jake is taking too much money out of his pocket. Bob comes up with the idea of buying Jake out, but Bob knows if he approaches Jake, regardless of what he offers to pay, Jake is going to say no. So Bob has got to be smart. Bob is talking to me about this during one of our meetings. We had become quite close, and I tell Bob, I bet there are lawyers out there who specialize in helping other companies acquire other companies. Bob asks me if I know of any. I don't, but I did have a client who specialized in business law who would be more familiar with this whole thing. I give Bob his contact info, and Bob thanks me. Bob contacts the lawyer and tells the lawyer what he would like to do. The lawyer tells Bob a lawyer who used to work for him now works for a firm that specializes in mergers and acquisitions, and if Bob wanted to buy out Jake's company, he's confident this firm could get it done. Also, this firm was in the big city, far away from the small community, so it's unlikely Jake would know what's truly going on. Bob contacts the firm and says he wants to buy out his competitor and would like to enlist their services. Now this is already getting a bit longer, so I'll get to the point. This firm ended up buying Jake's company, lock, stock, and barrel, and gave the company to Bob. All the while, Jake was completely oblivious to the fact that his arch enemy had just acquired his very own company. I recall Bob describing to me the day he walked into Jake's company with such delight. Bob was told he owned the company. Jake had been paid and was expecting to meet the new owner of the company that pleasant Monday morning. Jake was given the title of general manager and was considered second in command now. So Bob walked into the building that once belonged to Jake with his documents and the lawyer that had helped him acquire the firm, who Jake was familiar with. Bob walked into Jake's office to Jake's surprise. Jake: "Hi, Bob." Bob: "Hi, Jake. How are you?" "I'm good. What are you doing here?" "Oh, nothing much. Just thought I'd come check out my newly acquired business." Jake: "Huh?" Bob: "Jake, you sold your company to me." "I did what?" "No, I didn't. I sold it to XYZ. XYZ is the law firm I hired to organize the transaction. I am now the owner." Jake: "That's BS." Bob: "Here's your documents." Lawyer who Jake was familiar with confirmed this was all true. "So, you're now my boss?" "Yes. Now get up. That's my chair, and I'm tired. I want to sit down for a minute." Jake: "This is my office." Bob: "This is my company, and I have decided that this office is now my office, so I'm going to need you to get out of my chair." Jake gets out of the chair. "Great. Well, have a seat, Jake." Jake: "Thanks." Bob: "Jake, I think the first order of business today is getting rid of redundancies." "What do you mean?" "Well, you see, Jake, whenever a company acquires another company, you get overlap, redundancies, 2 HR departments, 2 secretaries, 2 accountants, etc. But now it's all one company. So now you got redundancies, overlaps, which is quite frankly a waste of money." Jake: "Yeah?" Bob: "And I don't need 2 owners working for one company." And he laughs and told me he had the biggest grin on his face. "Jake, it's become apparent that your services are no longer required, and effective immediately, you are terminated." Jake protested. Bob: "The decision is final. You may collect your personal belongings and leave the premises. What time did you get into work this morning?" 7 a.m. "Great. So you've been here for 2 hours. I'll make sure payroll pays you for 2 hours on the agreed upon rate and the buyout agreement. Have a nice day." Jake: "So you're just firing me? Just like that?" "Yep. Should have done this long ago." "What about my family?" "Jake, I just bought your company from you and paid you a lot of money. You'll be fine. Now get out of my office and out of my building." And that is how Bob acquired and fired an employee he should have fired long before. Some background. I remember the day vividly when Bob scheduled an appointment with me to go over Company B's services and negotiate a new service contract with us. It was the day Bob had fired Jake. Bob was in a great mood, one of the best moods ever. We did the business we needed to handle, and Bob said, "PJ, you helped me a lot get this all done. I'd like to invite you out to dinner and drinks, and let's watch Monday Night Football together." I really hadn't. I said, "Bob, I really didn't do much." He said, "Oh, yes, you did. You pointed me in the right direction." I go, "Well, that's the least I could do." He said, "Very well. Still, I'd like to take you out to dinner and drinks if that's all right with you." Now, I'm not one to turn down free beer and food, so I agreed. And that night, Bob and I went to a local hangout and watched Monday Night Football and ate and drank as Bob recounted this whole experience with such joy. Bob later rebranded Jake's company as a commercial-only enterprise and refocused his main company on residential, and both companies still exist today and are run by Bob and his son now. Karen dumps me to test my devotion to her. We were together for about 9 months. I thought things were going great until about a month ago when out of the blue, she told me that we need to break up. I was super confused and asked why she said that. She told me that I wasn't attentive enough and that she deserves better. I was confused, angry, and hurt all at the same time. I thought I was paying her the right amount of attention, but obviously she didn't think so. I would have fought for our relationship and paid more attention, but when she said she could do better, that really riled me up. I cut all contact with her. I'm talking about unfollowing and blocking her on all accounts, deleting all of her contact info from all of my devices, and deleting our texts. It was to the point that even if I wanted to contact her, I couldn't unless I drove to her place. I spent the month in pain, and I'll admit, I even cried a few times. Her words that she could do better, they just haunted me. Last night, there was a knock on my door, and when I went to go answer it, there she was. She tried asking me how I'm doing, but I cut her off and asked her what she wanted. Basically, she said I failed her test and that she was expecting me to pay more attention to her, not go no contact. She also said that I need to do better since she's taken me back. I closed the door in her face and she spent the next 10 minutes begging me to talk. She and her friends texted me the entire night, basically saying that it's normal for women to test their men and that I'm just overreacting. They said that normally they start out with smaller tests, but my ex jumped the gun and went for the big test because she saw us together for a long time and wanted to make sure I was the one. I never answered any of them, and I blocked every number that texted me. Am I overreacting? She's only the second serious girlfriend I've ever had. Not the jerk. What they did was incredibly immature, manipulative, and toxic, and if we can be honest, it was just stupid. I mean, I guess it's nice that she wasn't really expecting you to fail her test, but that also says a lot about what kind of a person she is. That she would make someone feel the kind of pain you're feeling now on purpose just to toy with them on a foregone conclusion? Cut off contact. If she does get her claws into you, tell her your primary relationship is with yourself and you can't disrespect yourself by allowing her back in your life. Congratulations, you passed the test. Not the jerk. Dumbest thing ever. She wanted another guy. It didn't work out and now she's back. Not the jerk. Block her and her friends and go get the revenge of living your life well. Not the jerk. She broke up with you and spent a month probably trying to get with some other guy, only to strike out and have to settle for you. This isn't a failed test. It was a breakup. My husband feels bombarded and I am so tired. My husband leaves for work at 7:30 a.m. and gets home at 6 p.m. We have a 14-month-old son who just started daycare. I work from home full-time and I'm the breadwinner, but my job is very demanding. I walk my son to daycare, 0.3 miles from home, each morning when my husband leaves for work and I pick him up at 4 p.m. His bedtime is 6 p.m. and he's been so tired from daycare that I haven't been able to push him much past that so my husband can spend time with him at the end of the day. It sucks, but our son's sleep is the most important. We are currently sick, again, just started daycare and we all immediately got a cold. Yesterday, my husband called me at 5 p.m. while I was feeding my son dinner to tell me he was coming home early. It's a 30-minute drive. I said, great, see you soon. Every night, I feed my son dinner at 5 p.m. and then we go upstairs for bath and bedtime after dinner. My son was especially tired and at about 5:15 p.m. started getting really fussy. I took him outside to walk around with me a bit while we waited for his dad to get home. Dad gets home at 5:30 p.m. We greet him, we're happy to see him. We go inside and I tell them I got them coats and such from Costco today, whatever. Our son is so exhausted, he bumps his nose on the floor. I pick him up and ask my husband, do you want to go give him a bath while I start dinner? His response is, I feel bombarded. I came home early because I don't feel good. I got lightheaded today at work. I say, okay, then I'll go give him a bath. Honestly, rather short but direct. Our son needs a bath right now, so I will just do it. He then starts following me, saying he'll do it. But honestly, I don't want my husband caring for my son when he's in a bad mood. He has a very short temper, and our son is 14 months, so he tests boundaries a lot. I start drawing the bath. My husband is standing in the doorway and says, I just need to chug water, and I'll give him a bath. I say okay. He then apparently went and chugged water. I didn't see him leave because I was trying to get his hair washed before his dad took over. Our son doesn't like having his hair washed, and I didn't want it to result in my husband being short with him after such a long day. He then says, "Do you want me to go start dinner?" I say, "Sure, that would be great. If you don't mind, that would be really helpful." He says, "I came home early to spend time with my son, so I would like to do bath time." And I say, "Okay, great. I'll go start dinner then." I then go start dinner. He takes over bath and calls for me to take him out, and then he gets into the shower while I put our son to bed. When we go downstairs, he says, "I'm sorry, I didn't like the jacket you got me. I appreciate your thought." And I kind of cut him off and said, "I appreciate that, but I'm not upset about it. I'll return it, no big deal. I am upset that you said you felt bombarded when I asked you if you wanted to give our son a bath." We then argue because he says this is him expressing his feelings and me blowing up at him about it. Would it hurt him to just say, "Hey, I'm sorry, I just need a minute because I had a really long day," or "I would love to do bath time, but I just need a few minutes to unwind," or anything, aside from telling me that I'm bombarding him for asking him one question? And like what? Did you think you were going to come home at 5:30 and just relax, knowing it's bath and bedtime? I'm so exhausted. I even apologized for being passive-aggressive, owned that I was upset, and didn't think I could respond to him following me saying, "I will give him a bath," without snapping. And all he wants to do is beat a dead horse, as though 100% of the issue that evening was me not responding after I got told I'm bombarding him for asking literally one question. No, he doesn't know the definition of bombarding clearly. I am sorry for saying that, but I don't think it's something I should have to apologize for because I was just saying how I felt. Like, that isn't an apology. Might as well just say you don't care about my feelings, which, fun fact, he doesn't at all. I'm tired. I'm so tired. Update. To address a few things that were repeatedly asked and called out in the comments. My husband was a stay-at-home dad until 5 weeks ago. His work pays for daycare and our family's insurance. I pay for the mortgage, groceries, and all of our bills. The reason I made the breadwinner comment and felt it was relevant is because I'm currently sensitive to a situation. We got into a fight over the weekend because when he was a stay-at-home dad, I expected him to feed our son lunch and also clean up after it. This was when our son took 2 naps a day. Before daycare started, I had our son home for 5 days over 2 weeks completely by myself while also working. I fed him breakfast, lunch, and dinner. He complained to me about not having dinner cleaned up when he got home. By the way, I also had dinner cooked for us. I explained I feed him dinner at 5, then bath and bedtime. He gets home at 6, and I haven't even been back downstairs yet. He said this is a double standard because when he was a stay-at-home dad, I expected him to clean up after his lunch. I told him this is not a double standard because I'm not a stay-at-home parent. I am a full-time working parent who's juggling taking care of our son while working a demanding work-from-home job. He will die on this hill that this is a double standard. He says that by me saying it is apples and oranges, which it is, that I'm insulting him as a stay-at-home parent and saying it is easy. That is not what I'm saying, but I'm doing literally the same thing and more because I worked part-time in the office, was always there for breakfast, only missed dinner 3 times. I can't read this anymore. I'm getting stressed out just hearing about all this. Yowza kanowza. I do not need this man. I love him so much, but I will be fine without him caring for our son. If he is unwilling to accept any responsibility towards his anger, which he hasn't, every fight he tells me I'm 100% of the problem and he's not. He tells me couples therapy isn't fair because then he has to go even though he isn't part of the problem. Then I will be divorcing him and hopefully find a way to amicably co-parent. I will not be staying in this relationship long enough for it to emotionally affect my son. Nothing is more important to me than my son's physical and emotional safety. Update. We got into therapy together and it really changed everything. We were able to communicate, find closure, focus on gratitude. We found each other again. We are more in love than ever and I feel so happy and satisfied in my family dynamic. For Christmas, my husband got me a night at a hotel this weekend so I can read my book that just came out. We're showing each other appreciation every day. It really couldn't be more different than that dark day that I posted months ago. Couples therapy saved my marriage, and I didn't really know this level of comfort and happiness existed for me. What the what? A happy ending? Don't worry, Karen, you know it's not permanent. Once you're posting on Reddit about how much you can't stand your spouse, it's far past the point of no return. Totally. Next update will be about how he's been cheating with his secretary. That's Reddit. Am I wrong for going through my wife's phone and she's upset that I found out that she's cheating? I need some advice, and I'm gonna delete my account tomorrow after I get some. I found out my wife started cheating while she was pregnant. She stopped cheating on me after we had the baby, started cheating again after the baby was 14 months old. She was upset with me because she had to work while she was pregnant with our son. My wife is not very work motivated. She hates working and always wanted to be a housewife, even before we had kids, but this just isn't ideal as we live in an expensive town. I've been suspicious of my wife because she's really secretive on her phone. I went through her phone 4 days ago while she was under surgery. I had a good 3 hours to go through her phone, and she tried deleting a lot of things, and I found out that she's been cheating on me with several different men. She vented to her friends a lot about how I can't provide her with everything she wants, and she started to resent me when she told me she wanted to quit her job when she was pregnant and wanted to be a housewife while she was pregnant. She told her friends she cheated on me. She vented to them about the affairs. She told them that I'm not a real man because he makes me work, and how I'm not traditional in the financial sense, and how she looks at me like I'm just a kid. Her friends were supportive and listened to her because they were friends since she was in middle school and high school. I know everyone's going to ask, how did she find the time to cheat? Quick background, we are Asian, and that means we get a lot of family support. Our families are always active and there for us, no matter how old we are. We don't use daycare services. Our parents are daycare. Our parents are retired and happily take care of our son. We have a lot of free time with all of the family help we get. But downside is, because of our cultural background, this is the reason why we can't get a divorce. It's highly frowned upon in the community. Literally, nobody in my family has ever had a divorce, and it would be embarrassing for my entire family if I did it. I confronted my wife about this the next day because she was in surgery the first day, and the pain medicine was making her tired and sleepy, and she wouldn't be able to hold the conversation. It was hard not talking about it right away, but I knew it wasn't going to do any better. Anyways, she said I was wrong for going through her phone, and me going through her phone is worse than what she ever did because as a man, I should have been providing for her. She said going through someone's phone is a major invasion of privacy, and nobody has the right to ever go through someone else's phone, especially without permission. And then she got even more hostile and started questioning me if I messaged anybody on her phone pretending to be her, and then deleted the evidence. You need to look at the bigger picture here, man. Your wife cheated on you repeatedly, and you're asking if you were wrong for going through her phone? You need to divorce her and find yourself a partner that you can trust and be happy with. My wife had that same reaction. I found out that she was hooking up with 5 other guys. Her reaction was about how I was a horrible husband because I invaded her privacy. It's misdirection. She's angry that she got caught and is trying to deflect. She's also not in the least bit sorry. When you leave her, she'll be all about how terribly you treated her and how she just had to cheat to get away from you. And her friends will all be like, "Oh, you poor thing." But the truth is that she's just self-centered. You aren't her partner. You are her tool to be used and then discarded. Since her behavior is essentially being protected by family, family should know about her behavior. Hard truth, she's never going to quit cheating on you. You have to either accept that from now on, or be the first couple in your family to divorce. Maybe the family can pressure her into being faithful, but I suspect she'd just resent them too. Been there, done that. Caught both of my ex-wives cheating, and they both tried flipping it around on me. It's because you work too much. You weren't emotionally supportive enough. You were too controlling. Funny how you waited until I caught you cheating to bring these things up. Same thing happened to my brother and several of my friends. Now I'm 55 and don't plan to ever remarry. I still pay alimony, thanks lopsided judicial system, but I'm hoping to retire by the time I'm 60, move up to the mountains, and rarely come back down to civilization. Am I the jerk for telling my mother-in-law I make too much to be a stay-at-home mom? I, 31 female, am a manager for cybersecurity engineering for a big tech company. My husband is an internal medicine specialist. I make over $200,000 a year, and he recently started making his full salary around $400,000 a year. We had our first kid around 2 years ago, and I'm pregnant with our second. My family's pretty open-minded about it, but my husband's family are old-fashioned, and since we are Japanese, there's a consensus from them that women who are married and have kids shouldn't be working. My husband is very lucky. He has less loans than other doctors, just over $130,000, but that's because his family paid a lot of it off already. So I've been getting hints from them that I should be a stay-at-home mom and leave the money making to my husband. I don't want to leave my job, and my company is relatively understanding. I got 6 months off, 3 months with full pay and 3 months without, for for my first kid and was able to keep my current position. The male members of my team are also able to take paternity leave, so I don't see why I have to leave my job. I also paid most of the bills while my husband wasn't making much as a resident. My aunt was a stay-at-home mom, and to make more income in her retirement, she babysits my son. She's also going to be looking after my youngest when my maternity leave ends. I've also been guilted by other moms, especially my husband's coworkers' wives, since most of them who are not also doctors became stay-at-home moms. But I don't see why I need to. My husband and I outsource all of our cleaning, grocery delivery, lawn maintenance, etc., so all we do is cook. So almost all our time at home is spent time together as a family. And apart from the rare occasion, we both work 9 to 10 hours a day, with me working a bit less as I don't have a commute. Even then, we still save a lot more than if I were a stay-at-home mom. But my mother-in-law has commented how it's not right I outsource these things because a mother shows her love by cleaning after her kids and husband. My mother-in-law recently came over, and while eating dinner, she said the food was great and complimented me, and I said my husband made the food. He finished work early, and I was in a meeting with a customer, and she was shocked and said it wasn't right that my husband has to do any work after his long shift. I got annoyed and said that I was working longer than him today, and she said, "Well then, you should quit so you don't need to." I got mad and told her I save over $12,000 a month after paying to outsource. I didn't have an interest in doing anyway. And with that money, we can send our kids to top schools and have undergrad and probably grad school paid for. So it's ridiculous to expect me to quit just because she has an old-fashioned idea that I'm supposed to be on my knees scrubbing away. My mother-in-law was offended, but my husband told her it's already been settled and I'm going to still be working. But everyone always tells me I'm a bad mom if I don't quit my job, and it has me worn down. Not the jerk for shutting her down. However, it is more effective to cut it off at the root. Husband and I are perfectly capable of making the best choices for us and our kid. Thanks. Rather than answer her butting in a way that doesn't necessarily make sense. If someone earns $200,000 a year and wants to be a stay-at-home mom, more power to them. It's about the right choices for the individuals involved, not about any specific career or income. I don't need to know what you make or how much you save under various scenarios. All I need to know is that you and your husband agree and your family is thriving. Am I the jerk for breaking a promise and not taking a kid home every day? My daughter, Daisy, who's 12, made friends with Dee, 13, 2 years ago. Thick as thieves. Dee's mom, B, 36, is a single mom and struggles. When the girls started middle school, we learned the bus wasn't available to them. Walking or driving them to school is required. The original plan was for B to drive the girls to school in the morning and I would pick them up. However, that plan fell through at the start of the year, so I did both pick up and drop off for several months. Eventually, B started driving D to school in the morning again, but never bothered to honor our original deal. So I still took Daisy in the morning and did pick up after school for both. B is also very demanding and needy. It's gotten to the point, anytime my phone dings from a Facebook message, my significant other will ask, what does she need or want now? It's become a weekly thing, with times being a daily thing. I've helped where I can, but a lot of her asks are wild. I need money for food. Do you know anything about this or that? I've never given her money, but I have helped with giving her an old phone and the promise it would be returned when she got a new one. She returned it, but completely shattered. Last bit of context that's important. I'm currently 5 months pregnant, suffered a knee injury when my dog decided to hide behind me by trying to go through me. Also, my kid walking home alone from school is a big no, because she would have to cross 2 major roads that have like 10 lanes each, and people in my city seem to think red lights are optional. The issue. My car decided to just stop going vroom on the way home from picking up my son. Luckily, we were close enough to the house, he was able to push it to our driveway, but left me unable to leave again to pick up the girls. I called B, begging her to come pick up the girls just once as a favor, but she replied, "No, I can't. Figure it out." Tried calling my significant other, but he was either at meetings or at PT. So I walked. Took me over 40 minutes to get there with my knee. By the time I got there, significant other had gotten off work, so he offered to pick us up at the park next to the school. It was a semi-warm day, so it wasn't a huge issue. But Daisy told me that B came to pick up D, so obviously she could get there, no issues. I was upset, so I messaged her and told her, "From now on, we should just pick up our own kid. You couldn't do me one favor in my time of need after I've helped you out with so much." B blew up on me, saying I was breaking a promise, even though I never promised anything. It was just a deal. Daisy and D aren't really friends much these days. Daisy says the only time they talk is when they are in my car, and at school, D acts like Daisy doesn't even exist. So, am I the jerk? I feel bad because she struggles, but I feel used at this point. Not the jerk. Just block her. She's just using you at this point, and I can't see how you're benefiting from this relationship at all. I hope you get well soon. Am I the jerk for forcing my husband to stay up all night with a baby and then making a bunch of plans the next day? I'll cut right to the chase. We had a baby 4 months ago. I get collectively 3 to 4 hours of sleep a night, if I'm lucky. He's never up at night with the baby because I feed naturally. I'm okay with this. However, he doesn't understand why I'm so tired, and he will plan crap the next day and expect me to be my best self, like inviting his family over, for instance, despite me being exhausted and not wanting to entertain. He doesn't see the issue. I'm tired of communicating the issue, as I've done so multiple times and it goes nowhere. So the night before last, I had gotten no sleep. The baby was up until 4 a.m. and then I was woken up at 8 a.m. to the doorbell. He invited over his mother and niece. They didn't leave until well after 3 p.m. I was exhausted. Last night, I decided I was going to show him how it feels versus tell him to see if he got the hint. I did not tell him my plans. I kept him awake all night with the baby. All night. I intentionally kept passing her off to him every single time she got busy. She loves moving around. She fell asleep around 3 a.m. I invited my mother and siblings over. They arrive at 10 a.m. They did not leave until 10 p.m., so 2.5 hours ago. My husband was drained all day, completely exhausted, irritated, etc. Kept asking me when my family was leaving so he could relax and sleep. I didn't make them leave, however, because he never makes his family leave. Once they did leave, he said, "That was so annoying. I'm literally exhausted." So I said, "Now you know how it feels. Maybe next time you'll listen to me." Now he's ticked off because I devised this plan against him and he feels played. Says that I could have done anything else and that this was ignorant and petty because he's had a migraine all day and needed to sleep but was expected to entertain. And my family isn't as loud as yours. Am I the jerk? Edit. To clear up confusion, mother-in-law does not come over to see the baby or to help me in any way. She's held the baby maybe 4 times. She's one of those, "You're gonna spoil her if you hold her too much. Put her in the crib and let her cry it out" types of people. She walks through the door and starts immediately following my husband around and telling him how great he's doing, all day. My daughter hardly knows this woman, due to lack of interaction even when she's here, so my daughter screams when she's remotely close to her. So, needless to say, it's of no help and definitely irritating. It just makes my day worse. I do not trust to just hand my baby over to my mother-in-law or my husband when she's here because of her opinions on parenting. Crying it out is not okay with me, and she has tried pushing that on us several times. I own my own company, for all the people pulling the "but do you work" BS. Anyone who invites guests over at 8 in the morning is a top-grade jerk. Who does that? OP's husband, whose relatives prove the apple did not fall far from the tree. Ignore how upset your husband is, OP. It won't hurt him, and you can always do it again if he's too slow to grasp the lesson. He honestly might be. Naval officer didn't want to live with enlisted. Gets fired. So this happened about 1.5 years ago, but I recently heard the news on how far my revenge went. I was a Navy enlisted service member and I was stationed in Yokosuka, Japan for a few years before I got transferred back stateside. I worked in the main hospital that cared for service members and their beneficiaries. It's a small hospital, so everyone knows everyone. Shortly after I left, I caught wind of a new physician officer working in the radiology department. My friends would say he's horrible to work with, but that's nothing new. However, someone saw him print a letter and he left it on his desk and took a picture of it and sent it to me. He's requesting to move from enlisted housing to officer. Edit. Found out it's not a private letter. He did actually send it to housing, and most of housing is ran by enlisted members. For context, military housing is available for those who are married, have a family, or are qualified based on their rank and depending on the military base itself. Typically, officer housing is much nicer than the enlisted. In Yokosuka, housing is basically all the same all around because it's overseas. But most of the housing are apartments, and each apartment complex is called a tower. Example, Fuji Tower.
There are 9 towers, and 2 are for officers since enlisted members outnumber officers by a lot. Now, one thing about the military, stuff happens. When getting stationed, it is the active duty member's responsibility to either apply for housing on or off base before arriving, depending on what's allowed. If there is limited space and you don't apply for housing on time, then you get put wherever there is space. So our new officer got placed in an enlisted tower. Mind you, enlisted members have families of their own, and other officers have been placed in enlisted housing before without an issue. Here are some quotes in his letter. And yes, this guy has a PhD. I have many valid objections to living in a building of almost all enlisted, and even many lower enlisted being an officer. There's a lot of crime, violent actions, and drinking that happens in enlisted housing. There are also assaults and other creeps. I have a good-looking family, a wife and 2 daughters. There are prime targets to be victims for these enlisted deviant activities. My family should be safe in housing that is with officers. Officers are much more respectable, and these types of deviant activities are incredibly rare compared to the deviant activities of enlisted being commonplace. Other officer families will not want to visit us because our family lives on enlisted housing. My children need to make friends with other officer children. My wife needs to make friends with other officers' wives. I need to make friends with other officers. Forcing an officer to live in a large apartment building with almost all enlisted is unethical. You get the idea. So this guy basically looks down on all enlisted service members, assuming every single one of us are some sort of criminals. The kicker? He was an enlisted Army member before going to officer school. In civilian terms, think of a manager that discriminates and calls all of his subordinates criminals, violent, etc. based on your job position. Forgetting that some have a family and, maybe aren't any of those things. And he not only has the authority to ruin your work life, he can ruin your personal life, deny days off, make you stay late, write you up if he doesn't like you, and not letting you get promoted. Safe to say, everyone was upset, and I have nothing to lose. I was separating soon and figured I'd have some fun before I got out. I created a burner Facebook account and posted the letter and the officer's picture on a popular military enlisted group page. Within 2 days, it spread like wildfire. But I wasn't done yet. The military has something called challenge coins. Think of trading cards, but custom coins that come in many shapes and sizes. I designed one with his face and a big gesture in the back. On top of that, I designed stickers to show how proud us deviants are. Other coin designs came from other people as well, but so far I think mine was more popular. I sold over 70 coins to the initial person who originally sent me the picture at a huge discounted price so that she can sell them for a profit herself. So the officer's face is everywhere because most people will keep their coins displayed on their desk. No matter where the officer went at work, he would see his face on someone's desk, and since it didn't have his name on the coin, can't officially say it's him. I sold more stateside and even got some sent to Europe. I made about $3,000 overall, which was nice. The story got the officer sent up to captain's mast, which is like Navy court. He tried to say his wife was the one that wrote the letter, but no one is buying it because her writing style is way worse. She even tried to take the fall, but no one believed her. They both ended up deleting all social media. Due to this, he got served 3 UCMJ articles, which basically are his offenses. But there's more. When you're in the military, you have a deadline on how long you can be a certain rank. If you don't pick up, then you're kicked out. And because he's new and got served UCMJ articles, he won't be up for promotion and therefore was involuntarily separated. Also, the officer program he went through pays for his PhD. When the military pays for your PhD, you have to serve 10 years to pay them back. If you don't complete 10 years, you have to pay the military back with money instead of time. So he lost his job, and now he has to pay back the military for his PhD. And since it takes a while for the paperwork to have him and his family sent back stateside, you can bet he socially suffered because no one worked with him. My sister claims she caught my girlfriend cheating with a friend of mine. They both deny it. My girlfriend and I have been dating for a little over 3 years now. Everything was going great until about 6 months ago. We stopped hooking up like we used to, and I'll admit that it was mostly my fault. Work got really stressful, and I had some family issues I had to deal with, and unfortunately, my relationship suffered a bit. We talked, and I promised to put more effort into us. I do think things have gotten better overall, but I know we both still have room for improvement. Despite everything, I absolutely love this girl, and I don't want to lose her.
Last night, my girlfriend told me she was going to the club with some friends after work. Uh-oh. I didn't think anything of it. They do this from time to time, so whatever. Last night, around 11 p.m., my sister sent me some texts saying that she saw my girlfriend and my friend making out at the club. I didn't believe her, and she said that when she went to grab her phone to get proof, they had stopped, but they were still dancing very closely, and she did manage to get a couple of pictures of them. It made me very uncomfortable. I asked if they left together, and she said she doesn't know. Here's my problem with all of this. About 4 years ago, my sister told me she had a crush on my friend. She confessed to him, and he turned her down. He told her that she's not his type. According to him, she was persistent, and he ended up being a little mean about it. She was really hurt by it, and even now she refuses to speak to him. It took her a whole year before she could even be in the same room as him. As far as I know, she has a decent relationship with my girlfriend. They aren't friends, but they are friendly. This morning, I sent the pictures in a text to my girlfriend and my friend and asked them what the heck was going on. They both said that all they did was dance. I told them they looked really close and that it was really inappropriate. She told me I'm being paranoid. I told them what my sister said she saw, and after a bit of arguing, my girlfriend said I either believe her or my sister. I told her I don't know what to believe and that I need time to think about this, and she said whatever. I messaged my friend privately and asked him to explain everything. I basically begged him, and he hasn't messaged me back. Not answering me feels like a sign of guilt. I don't think my sister would lie about this, but there is a part of me that thinks she might have saw an opportunity to hurt my friend for hurting her, or maybe I'm just being naive. I'm really not sure what advice I'm looking for. I just don't know how to go forward. Update. They never texted me back, at all. I probably would never have heard from either of them again if I hadn't told them that I just wanted the truth. They agreed to come over Monday night and explain everything. The long and short of it is that they did go back to his place and they hooked up, but they claim it was the first time doing so. About 4 months ago, they ran into one another after her and I had a particularly bad fight that I don't even remember, and he noticed that she was upset, so he took her out for lunch and they talked about our relationship and me. They exchanged numbers. She ended up texting him about 2 weeks later after I went fishing with some friends for the weekend, and apparently they've been texting daily and hanging out 2 to 3 times a week. She went into extreme detail about exactly how I've pushed her away these last 6 months. I told her I thought things got way better after we talked about everything, and she claims it just got better for about 2, maybe 3 weeks, and then it was right back to where it was. I asked why she didn't bring it up again, and she claimed she did. I told her regardless, she should have just broken up with me and that cheating on me shouldn't have been her response to what was happening between us. She agrees that she messed up, but says that I share blame in all of this as well. I asked why not just tell me the truth when I confronted them with the pictures, and they said that they panicked. I asked him if he had anything he wanted to add, and he said that he's sorry it happened the way it did, but he's not sorry that it happened. I told him there are dozens of women out there he could have gone for. Regardless of the problems between her and me, he didn't have to go for my girlfriend. He said she hasn't been my girlfriend for 4 months. I told them to get out. I don't really know how I'm feeling right now. I went to remove her from social media last night, and she had a picture on her Instagram of the two of them. I skimmed through the comments, and some people were asking what happened to me. Some people were congratulating them and saying they look cute together, so that didn't feel good. I also apologized to my sister for throwing her under the bus. I didn't realize that I did that until some people commented that's exactly what I did. She said she doesn't care if it meant finding out the truth and getting them out of my life. I'm probably staying single for a while. Some people suggested therapy. Maybe that's something to explore down the line. Anyway, that's it. My husband keeps sneaking out in the middle of the night. For basically as long as I can remember, I've gotten up around 4 a.m. or so to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. That's just how my body works. And lately when I do so, I won't find my husband in bed. In fact, I can't find him anywhere. He does have pretty bad insomnia, and sometimes on really bad nights, I would find him in the living room watching TV or playing video games. Also, it's not every night. It's maybe every other night that he's sneaking out. I'm trying not to let it bother me, but this has been going on for about a month now, and I'm starting to get really annoyed and worried about where he's going, and what he's doing at such weird hours of the night. It happened again the other night, and I stayed up until he decided to come home at 6 a.m. Mind you, I don't know how long he was actually gone, just that he hadn't been there from about 4 a.m. until then. I admit I was pretty cranky and annoyed when he got home, and I asked him where he had been. He told me not to worry about it and, let's go back to sleep. I kept pushing, and he said that he just goes out for a walk. I wasn't satisfied with that answer, but the conversation kept going back to he just takes a walk to burn any extra energy or to clear his head when he can't sleep. So I decided to drop it, as I was pretty tired and I had to be up in an hour to go to work anyway. Well, it happened again tonight/this morning. I got up to go to the bathroom and I couldn't find my husband anywhere. Again, I was really annoyed, and I stayed up to see when he would get home. It was 5:35, so that's an improvement at least. When he got home, he looked so sleepy and climbed right into bed, and without saying a word, I got out and took my pillow and blanket and I came to the couch, which is where I am right now. I know it's petty of me to give him the silent treatment, but I'm frustrated and I just want to be by myself right now. I can hear him snoring, so I guess his walk worked. I'm not sure what to do now. I'm exhausted and I honestly just want to know the truth. Should I confront him? I'm not big on confrontation, but at the same time, I really just want to know what's going on. I mean, he told you he's going for a walk. If you don't believe him, check if it's true. But be aware this will probably destroy his trust in you if what he does really is just walking. I don't think anyone would be stupid enough to get up in the middle of the night to go do what? Cheating? Then come back to go to sleep? That would be quite stupid, wouldn't it? The fact you're not accepting his explanation underlines other problems in your relationship, and he needs to seek help for that insomnia because it will affect his health badly. Info. Do you have any other reason to believe he might be cheating? Can it be possible that he's walking because he needs to burn off some energy so he can go back to sleep? OP. I know that logically he might just be going for walks, but I have had an ex in the past leave me in the middle of the night and not return for a week, and then break up with me over it. And now I'm realizing that I probably have unresolved issues around this. Other than this, I can't think of any other reason. Why should OP automatically have to take his word? Would he do that if the roles were reversed? Even if he is just walking for 2+ hours seems excessive. I would absolutely have a conversation with him and explain, though you shouldn't have to unless he's just dense. That odd behavior warrants questioning and he shouldn't be shocked by that. OP. And that's basically my issue. Why are the walks so long? Am I crazy for thinking it's weird to take hour-long walks at 4 a.m.? Update. 8 months later. So about 2 months ago, a police car pulled up to my house and 2 police officers knocked on my door. They told me they were here to do a wellness check on my husband because his girlfriend hadn't heard from him in 3 days and was worried about him. They asked me if I was his sister or what my relationship to him was. I just told them I was his wife, and beyond that, I can't even remember what was said. I was in shock. I just remember them leaving and me closing the door and crying. He was at work at the time, and when he got home, he could tell that I was upset. I mean, it was obvious, because every time I tried to speak, I would just start crying again. Eventually, it got to the point that, I guess, he knew he had to come clean, and he told me everything. So yeah, I found out that he had been cheating on me with an ex-coworker of his. Not only this, but he had also been supporting her and her 2 kids, because she couldn't hold down a job and he didn't want them to end up homeless. The reason she couldn't hold down a job was because she had a substance problem and would go on week-long periods where she just wouldn't show up to work. And he says that about a year ago, she called him out of the blue and cried to him, saying that she was about to lose her apartment because her husband was cheating on her and he had basically vanished. Ironic, I know, leaving her with all of the bills that had to be paid. And her 2 kids needed food and new stuff for school. He says that at first, it was just financially supporting her and her kids until he started using with her, and that's when things escalated. He told me he had cut things off with her 3 days before the police showed up, and that's why they were doing a wellness check. So I asked him if that was where he was going when he was sneaking out. He said yes, for the most part. He also said, to be fair, I really would just go on a walk or a drive around sometimes. And I know there are going to be questions about how I didn't notice the missing money. So here's my answer. We have separate bank accounts. He pays for his bills and I pay for mine. And our joint bills come out of my account and he pays me back whatever the total is for those bills. And well, he never stopped paying me for those bills. And household things that were in his name never got shut off, so I never had a reason to think anything was wrong in that area. I've been so emotionally numb for these past 2 months, and he's been begging me for about 2 months to make a decision about our relationship. As in divorce or work things out, because being in limbo is really stressful for him. I honestly just don't want to even put any energy into thinking about the future at all right now. All of my friends and family are telling me to get a divorce, but I don't know. Everything had been great up until 8 months ago, and our lives are so intertwined. That feels so stupid to say, but I'm basically paralyzed with numbness. I did, however, make an appointment for couples therapy, so I guess I'll see how that goes. He seems up to it. And I just wanted to extend a thank you to all the people that took the time to read this and the last one. Out of curiosity, did she know you guys were still married? OP: Yes, he says he told her that he was married. This has to be one of the top worst ways to find out your husband is cheating. The police knock on your door and say that they're there to do a wellness check because his girlfriend is worried. Poor OP. But yeah, couples therapy is not going to fix this. This marriage is over. All that matters now is how long it takes to drag herself out of it. Am I wrong for not listening to my mom when she tells me that I should not have to take care of a child that's not even mine? I'm 34, male, and my mother, who is 49, female, seems to believe that I should not be taking care of my friend, who's 34, and her daughter, who's 5. For some context, my friend and I met back when we were in high school. She ended up staying with us for a little while and then ended up having to move back to her parents. Long story, and that's for a different subreddit. A few years ago, we ended up crossing paths once again, and we've been living together ever since. We've tried the dating thing a few times, but it hasn't worked out for us. But we still wanted to make a life together, just not in a romantic sense. Her daughter has become the light of my life at this point. She's absolutely goofy, incredibly smart for her age, and I just adore her to the highest level. Her dad isn't around. He only wants to be around his own daughter, but his presence in her life is contingent upon a relationship with her mother. And as you can probably surmise, she does not want that. From the get-go, my mom was incredibly against this. She was against us being together because of a few things that she believed my friend to be. I firmly believe that she still sees her as that person she was back in high school. My friend is not that way now. So because the father does not want to be involved in the child's life, I had stepped up. Because I firmly believe that she should not have to grow up without some sort of father figure in her life. Of course, I'm not without my faults. I do mess up. I'm not going to front about that. But here's the thing. My mom wants me to completely and totally distance myself from both my friend and her daughter. My friend has no support system, and what little help she receives is very flaky and have expressed that they do not want to help her. After the time me and my friend and her daughter have spent together, I just can't see me leaving everything behind because she feels that I should not have to take care of a kid that's not mine. Personally, I don't care if she isn't mine. She may not be biologically mine, but she might as well be. I love that girl to death and will throw myself in front of a bus for her. And I trust my friend implicitly, even with money that I have left with her. The only reason why I'm even speaking to my mom, who I've come to find out is a narcissist, is because she's currently taking care of my grandmother. But even that is shaky at best. Personally, I feel that she's just getting close to my grandmother who has Alzheimer's because once she kicks the bucket, she'll get a bunch of crap out of the will. Once my grandmother passes, however, I plan on going no contact because I don't want that sort of negativity in my life, nor my friend or her daughters. So tell me, Reddit, am I wrong for just ignoring my mom and continuing to take care of a kid that's not even mine? But allow me to address a couple of concerns. 1. Regardless of how my friend and I end up in the future in terms of relationships, that honestly really doesn't matter to me. Reason being is because in any relationship that I've been in the past, I've always tried to make the other happy. 2. I don't really see it as putting my life on hold for a kid that isn't mine. Reason being is because I know that I'm allowed to make my own way in the world. Currently, I'm going to be going to school for my CDL, so that way I can start doing long-haul trucking. 3. Perhaps I'm not giving you guys enough insight as to what my mom exactly does. It's not something that I can really put into words, really. There's just a lot of things that I can't really put into words. It's rather complex, and it's one of those things that I guess one has to be there for. 4. My friend has actually assured me that no matter where we go in this life or the next, she knows that the 5-year-old in question will always know that I will be able to take care of her. Some of the comments have addressed the fact that I may have a desire to have kids someday. They aren't that far off. As for wanting my own kids, who's to say that will ever happen in the future? I'm not really looking into getting into a relationship at this point. Chalk it up to past traumas, I suppose, with relationships and all of that. I still have to work out my own head before I even dip my toe into the wading pool of relationships. I don't really consider myself an angel or a saint like some of the comments have made me out to be. I guess it's one of those situations where one has to be in my shoes in order to really understand the so-called nuances of everything going on in my life. Rest assured, despite what everyone may think, and this applies to people in my circle, I feel that I will continue with taking care of my friend's kid and helping out with whatever my friend needs help with. And who knows, maybe my friend and I will end up together again. We truly don't know what life holds. I'm just the type of guy to take things as they come. But again, thank you all so much for your opinions. I don't think you're wrong, but I hope everyone is emotionally and mentally prepared for when either of you gets a romantic partner. She may be worried you're going to lose out on marriage and having kids of your own if you're focused on your friend and her kid. So what are your end goals here? 5 years down the road or 10? Do you want your own relationships, your own kids, your own place? He thinks he's in a romantic comedy and will end up married to the friend and adopting the daughter. In reality, his friend will end up finding someone she falls in love with and will take her kid and move in with the other guy, while Uncle OP is left behind picking up the pieces of his broken heart and a lot of time lost, and a mother he disowned because she warned him this would happen. Something about this story says that you're going to be absolutely gutted if your friend and the kid move out of state. I think your mom is trying to protect you. Based on your age difference, I could see where life knocked her down a bit. Do I think you're wrong in this stance? Yes, I think you're a desperate, lonely dude. But at the same time, our society needs guys like you to pick up the slack in these types of situations. Most girls like your friend are not fit to be raising kids on their own, and the top-tier guys that get them pregnant have way too many options to stick around with them. That's where guys like you come in. You're so lonely that you're willing to support her and her kid just to have some company. Then you'll act surprised when she cheats on you or leaves you. Oh wait, how is she gonna cheat on you when you're not even together? You're just a meal ticket who isn't even getting the goods. I know you did not grow up with an actual father. If you had, he would have taught you how to have a little self-respect. Your mother is trying now, but it's far too late for you. Well, what do you think? Is OP right or is his mom? Please let us know. Bruh. Am I the jerk for not picking up my phone on vacation and leaving my tenant, her mom, and my mom to deal with the cops alone? I rent my basement suite out to my mom's best friend's daughter, Sally. I knew her growing up and I used to babysit her. The basement has two means of escape other than going into my area. It's fully up to code as an in-law suite. There's no reason for anyone to go through it into my space. I went on vacation and I left my door to the basement deadbolted. 3 days into my vacation, I get an alert on my phone that there's an unauthorized event at my house. I look at the video. It's my mom opening the door for Sally's mom. They freak out when the alarm goes off. Usually if I need my mom to get into my apartment, I'll give her a temporary code. It's always the same one because she gets confused by tech. But I have to activate it beforehand. I cannot do it retroactively. The only choice would be to call her and give her my personal code. I check the cameras in the house, and strangely enough, my house is not on fire. I didn't leave the faucet running. There's no emergency. This is where I might be the jerk. Once I saw they were just messing with my area for no good reason, I put my phone on airplane mode and went back to the party. Maybe 90 minutes later, a concierge at the resort came and said I was urgently needed on the phone. My dad has written down my whereabouts and they called the front desk for me. I excused myself and went for the call. I asked my mom what the emergency was. Why was she getting me out of my friend's wedding reception? Was my house okay? Was my dad okay? She angrily told me to shut up and talk to the cops and the security patrol. I talked to them and apologized for wasting their time. I asked them what the emergency was that brought my mother into my house. They handed her back the phone and let her tell me that her friend did not want to sit in the basement while she was visiting her daughter. So my mom agreed to come let them use my area and it would be a secret. I asked the security company to please lock my house back up and take my key back from my mother. She started to protest, but I hung up. I enjoyed the rest of my trip, and my dad has agreed to pay any fines or penalties that come from the false alarm. Sally's mom wants her to move out. That's fine by me. I don't need a tenant and was only doing it as a favor. Sally is almost apoplectic, begging me to not kick her out. She said that she didn't even know what our moms were up to until the alarm went off. My mom is upset that I wasn't available immediately to get them out of trouble, and she's furious that I won't give her back my key. She thinks I did it on purpose. I'm not sure how she thinks I forced her to break into my home without permission. So, am I the jerk for making them sweat until they get a hold of me and taking my key back since I can't trust her now? Not the jerk. Your mom and mom's best friend chose to ignore your boundaries. Mom used a key meant only for emergencies to break into your property when there was no emergency, just entitlement. These are the consequences of her actions. I don't blame you for putting your phone in airplane mode while at an important event. Not your mess, not your problem. I wouldn't kick Sally out if she doesn't want to go though. She's an adult and can make her own choices. Just remind her if she has visitors, she needs to remind them to stay on her side of the property line. Also, maybe give the key to your dad instead. He seems far more responsible and reasonable than your mom. Am I the jerk for refusing to cook for my adult daughter because she's too picky and doesn't appreciate my cooking? I, 53 male, love to cook. There will be days where I slave away in the kitchen all day to make a big meal, and I do it happily. My wife, who's 50, can cook when I'm not around, but honestly, I can't think of any time when she has made anything because I always want to do it. And that's fine by me, as long as I feel appreciated for it. I have a 24-year-old son, Eric. My wife has a 19-year-old daughter, Liz, from previous marriages, and we have a 15-year-old son, David, together. Eric lives with us for now to save up money while he works, but still pays rent. He will eat literally anything, with the exception of hating blue cheese. David likes pretty much everything, but is allergic to eggs. I can work around these constraints pretty easily when I cook. Liz is a different story. She's always been kind of picky with the food she dislikes, but it's gotten way worse. She went to college for a semester and then dropped out, so now she's living at home. And while she was away, she developed some terrible pickiness. She had had stints of being a vegan, being vegetarian, being grain-free, pasta-free, oil-free, etc. But she isn't consistent about it. I try to help meet her needs, but on any given day, she has something new to complain about with the food I want to cook. Sometimes she and I will debate for hours about what to make, with me basically saying, tell me what you want for dinner that will work for you, and I'll cook it, so long as it meets the other kids' restrictions, and she is so unhelpful with this. 2 nights ago, I cooked a dish that Liz told me looked good in a book. We all sat down for dinner, and everybody loved it except for Liz. She complained that she didn't realize there were peanuts in the recipe, and peanuts are so unhealthy for us, so she didn't think she can eat it, and can I make her something else? I was fed up, and I told her, no, you can eat this or you'll eat nothing. I'm done having to deal with your pickiness and criticism of my cooking. I will no longer be taking any of your feedback on what you want for dinner and will be cooking what everybody else wants. You can either eat that or cook yourself something else. She started crying and said that I take the other kids' restrictions on what to eat, so why can't I do the same for her? I reminded her that Eric only dislikes a single thing and that I don't care for it either, so there's no risk of popping it into a dish. And if David has eggs, it could hurt him, so it's not the same as her vetoing every single thing I want to make. My wife took her side and said that I'm being too sensitive and mean because Liz is not my real daughter and I'm showing favoritism, which is BS by the way. I told my wife that she can cook Liz meals if she wants to, as if, but I'm not going out of my way to meet her needs. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. And maybe Liz is a bit of a brat. But can I ask, is she having a hard time with dropping out and moving back home? Is she online too much, watching health TikToks or whatever info? Does she struggle with her weight or appearance? Not the jerk. The issue isn't your daughter's preferences, it's that they're constantly shifting. You aren't playing favorites. She doesn't understand the work that goes into cooking and is taking your cooking for granted. Your wife is also by saying you should cater to your daughter's every day-to-day whim. Particularly offensive is that she even picked out the dish she wanted you to cook and then wanted you to fix her mistake overlooking an ingredient after you already put in the work. Make her or both of them cook their own meals until they learn to appreciate your effort. Entitled Mom wants to use my car money to pay off her debt. My mother, entitled Mom, has a problem with money. She has about 10 credit cards and owes over $3,000 to her boss because she borrows money. I have to pay $1,250 to her each month for rent and pay all of my bills on my own, which is $50 for my phone and food/necessities. I try not to ask her for money unless I absolutely need it or I can pay her back the next day. This leaves me with no savings and nothing left over by the time I get my last paycheck. Well, I'm getting promoted to a position with a slightly better pay, which could help me start saving for my future. The catch is, I have to have reliable transportation as I'm being transferred to a location that is 15 minutes away, instead of 5 minutes from my house, and an open availability. My mom drives our only car to work in the morning and doesn't return until evening, so I have to work night shifts. I give just about all of my money to my mother so we won't be homeless. I don't have money to do things with friends, buy myself anything, and my job is very mentally and physically demanding. I basically do slave labor because everyone has seen money except me. I have thought about getting another job, but I already work long hours and don't get much sleep during the day because my mom is a very loud person and talks to me / keeps the TV at max volume, etc. Asking her to be quiet does not help, as she always says, "You're always asleep when I get home. You sleep all day. You're just lazy. When I was your age..." Yeah, when you were my age, you were also getting in trouble. Well, my grandmother lives very comfortable and offered to give me my grandfather's car because he can no longer drive and I am in need of a car to continue my career. I expect to stay with this company as the people / company take good care of its employees once they get promoted to management. Unfortunately, the car was stolen before we could drive down to pick it up. My grandmother, in turn, offered to give me $4,500 to buy a new car. My mom tells me this, along with her plan on how she's going to use my money. The conversation went roughly like this. Entitled Mom: "Gran said she wants to give you $4,500 for a car." Me: "That's cool and all, but do you think they will find the car?" Entitled Mom, ignoring me like usual: "What I'll do is fix the oil leak on this car," from when she drove after a surgery instead of calling me and crashed. $800. "And then pay off my boss, and then ask Gran to co-sign a car for me, and I'll make the payments and you can drive this car." 2003, always needing a fix. Me: "How much do you owe your boss?" Entitled Mom: $3,000. Me: "No." "What do you mean, no?" "I don't get anything out of that. It's not my fault you owe that much money and have debt because you keep buying furniture and shoes you never wear." Literally, dozens of brand new shoes that sit in their box while I wear the same 2 to 3 pairs for the last 2 years because if I want new shoes, I need to buy them. Entitled Mom: "Then I won't have a car to drive to work, and you will have to take me and pick me up every day." Me: "I'm sorry, but if anyone is going to have her cosign, it's going to be me. You have terrible credit. I have no credit. I want to build my credit and have something of my own. Your $3,000 debt is not my fault, and you're not going to use my car money and make promises you can't realistically keep. And I'm not driving an unreliable car that you ruined." At this point, she just starts screaming about how selfish I am and that she's only been in debt because of me. She picked an expensive place to live so she wouldn't have to spend an extra $100 on gas per week, even though we pay around $1,000 more on rent than if we lived 45 minutes away from her work than 10. She buys herself clothes and shoes and jewelry that she never wears because she never goes out. She drinks a lot and lounges around after work until she goes to bed. Lazy sound familiar? Did I mention she has a desk job? She keeps using Fingerhut to buy Ninja kitchen stuff or swaps out furniture because you can buy moderately expensive items on payment plans, except they add about $100 to $300, which she would rather pay to get the item now than save and get it later. I have no idea if my grandmother is giving us a check or cash, but I hope it's a check in my name, as my mom would not give it to me otherwise. She'd say something like, "You're irresponsible. I'll hold on to it." Or, "I already told you, I'm using the money." Do you know how stupid that would make us look to my grandmother? She would never offer to help us again because she would feel scammed. I would be out of a car and unable to fulfill the promotion demands. I'll be stuck in the same boat I am now, giving all my money to my mom and not having a penny to my name a week later. I'll update this when something happens, like getting the money or, hopefully, the stolen car being found and getting it. Edit. The rent is not just $1,250. Rent is around $2,200. It may seem like a lot for an apartment, but it's actually a really nice 2-floor townhouse with community amenities, security and a gate, vaulted ceilings, good location that stays cool in summer, and I now get to have my own bedroom, which I have never had for myself until I was 19, and a personal bathroom/shower and a walk-in closet. I pay half the rent and give her money for car insurance, because she has a great driving record and it's cheaper to have me on hers than my own. Edit 2. She won't steal my car. That would be pointless. She can't sell a stolen car. My county is really good on that. Unfortunately, the car I should be getting, which is stolen, is 2 counties away where car theft is common. She doesn't want my car. She just wants the money because it's already coming. Do you think that Entitled Mom has any right to OP's money? Or none whatsoever? Please leave a comment letting me know. Next we've got Karen throws food and drinks in my face for not giving her free parking. Happened a few years ago during a football game. The home team's college was providing free parking for game attendees in various lots near the stadium. I used to live very close to the stadium, just a block or 2 away, with a gravel front yard as a driveway. Some people are thrown off by our driveways being parallel to the road, but they usually understand it's not a parking space as there is usually grass between the driveway and road. Unfortunately, the day would come where I would meet a wild Karen in front of my family and we would all almost go to jail for it. It was a single mother Karen in a pickup with her kids, and she had not only pulled into my driveway, but also blocked the gate to my house. My car was in the driveway, so she had to drive over grass in order to park on my driveway, which should have been the first. Almost immediately, my grandpa confronts her and tells her that she was on my property and that free parking was 2 houses down. She didn't take too kindly to that and started screaming about how we're supposed to provide free parking to all visitors. I rush over to the source of the yelling from the neighbor's house and find an irate Karen yelling at my grandpa. So I ask her to leave when she demanded the free parking promised by the college. We told her this wasn't part of the college and to go literally 2 houses down to get a free space or directions to one by a college staff. More yelling ensued, and I decided to take pictures of their license plate plus make and model in case I need to call the police. The daughter saw me take a pic and jumped out of the truck to yell at me before going back to yell at my grandpa. There really isn't much to say about the daughter because I couldn't understand her through her screaming. When I told Karen she needed to leave before I called the cops, she responded by throwing drinks and food at me and my grandpa before I promptly slammed her car door and caused a drink to bounce off the window and spill all over the interior of the truck. At this point, people have gathered around to watch. A few moments later, the cops arrived and separate us. They talked to witnesses and us first before talking to Karen, who responded to everyone's testimony by claiming we said something illegal. Where I live, there are laws restricted on what you can say, and Karen was hoping to get back at us by accusing us of violating these laws. I don't want to get into details because it's a very hot topic, and I learned to just be quiet and deal with it. The police officers detained us for questioning, but one of them saw straight through Karen's ploy, and they explained what we can and can't say. If someone else reports us for saying the wrong thing, then they would personally come back to arrest us. Karen was then given a huge fine and told to leave. In the end, Karen wasted valuable time, got a huge fine, and made a fool of herself in front of everyone when she could have just drove a couple houses down. Next we've got, Not Today, Karen. I used to work retail. I worked for a chain grocery store from the Midwest, then a blue home improvement store, then a coffee shop chain. Pick one of the 2 most popular in America. I worked in both for a time. So I have had my fair share of retail experience. I have had some bad customers and some good ones. But now that I have graduated college and I am working in my career field of choice, I teach. I am happy to say I do not miss retail. I still go out of my way to treat the workers politely. Even if I am having a bad day, they didn't ask to be the target of anyone's wrath. No one gets paid enough for that. On that note, yesterday I was having a terrible day. You know the kind. You sleep through your alarm, or you get stuck in traffic, or someone at work pushed your buttons too far. Or, if you're a lady, that time started and you don't have any ibuprofen in your purse. Basically, picture yourself after a bad day where you question every single one of your life choices and contemplate fleeing into Iceland and marrying a sheep farmer. Because why? But I needed to go grocery shopping after work. I try to do my shopping during the week simply because there are less people. And if you choose your day just right, it could be restock day or the day after so the shelves aren't empty or items aren't already sold out. So I thought I could just go to Walmart and grab some things that I needed. Door stoppers, lunches for a week, shampoo, Advil, cereal, and milk. And to hopefully slip away before the evening rush hit, from desperate people who are coming off of work themselves, people who need milk or whatever. So here I am, in my work uniform, black pants, dark blue blouse, and with my lanyard from work around my neck and my jacket. It's a simple one with some keys, my ID, and it's blue because that was one of our school colors. I know, I really should have removed it when I went shopping, but sometimes I forget that I even have it on. I am just so used to it being there. I was in a really bad mood because it was one of those days, and I was just not going to have anyone's BS. Too bad no one warned Karen. I was in the frozen section digging through the vegetable steamers so that I can have some lunches for the next week or so, and trying to find the ones that I liked. This Walmart, for whatever reason, just throws the bags in there, so it's more like digging through and praying they have the steamers you like. I finally found a few and threw them in my cart when I heard it. The dreaded ahem. Knowing stories from this sub, I instantly go into defense mode, and instead of turning, just look at this person over my shoulder, hoping that would deter them. Enter Karen. I'm guessing in her 50s or 60s. Short hair. Why am I describing her? You know who this simpleton is. Karen. Can I get in there? I need my rice. Me. Foolishly thinking she was just being her version of polite and wanting to dig through Steamer Mountain. Oh, sure. I move my cart and my steamers aside and continue browsing the frozen meals. I see her digging through the mountain and silently wish her luck. I continue on when I suddenly hear the sound of heels stomping into concrete and 2 sharp jabs at the back of my shoulder. I turn more this time and look at her. Me. Yes? Don't you have any more rice with vegetables? And why wasn't it organized? Me. How should I know? The workers here never do that. You should know because they are your workers. Honestly, the integrity of some people. Me. I don't, Karen, as if I'm not even there. And what about the ones in your cart? Are they expired or something? She actually moves to my cart, which has my purse in the kid's seat, and starts sifting through what groceries I do have. These are the ones I was looking for. You can't set them aside for yourself. Customers come first. Me, holding back annoyance. Ma'am, those are mine. And get me the store manager. I cannot believe you would deliberately hide things from— Hey! If you would take this second to stop and listen, you would hear what I am trying to say. I gesture to myself. I am not in any way in a Walmart uniform. I see her open her mouth, but I cut her off, grabbing my lanyard and holding it up. This is not a name badge for Walmart. This is my ID for my actual job. See? So I am going to ask you one time to put my groceries down and leave me alone. Karen, throwing my groceries down and actually grabbing my cart, clearly scrambling for what she thinks is dignity. I didn't know, you little jerk. You millennials are all the same, so rude and entitled. Me. Nope, not today. I am not putting up with this today. Super Saiyan mode activated. I cannot believe you would be so rude and then try to turn it around on me when I am defending myself from you. She goes to probably shriek at me, but I hold my hand up. No, I am not done talking. Just because you don't happen to work retail doesn't mean you can come in here and scream at random people or go through their carts. The employees work hard to support families or put themselves through school and have to put up with people like you. You are the one who is in the wrong but can't admit it, and you are the one that is being rude. I yank my cart from her grasp, ignoring her trying to yell back at me, but I just don't care at this point. I forego the rest of my list and turn around, leaving the aisle. I wasn't really in the mood to finish my shopping after that, so I paid for what was in my cart and left without further incident. I'll just have to go tonight or early in the morning on the weekend. I know I didn't conduct myself very well, but I was already in a bad mood, and I was not going to put up with a Karen. I would have honestly let it go if she didn't keep trying to blame me or bring age into it. Also, I know it's not as exciting as some stories on this subreddit, given that I didn't see her again and no one else got involved, but still holding the spirit. Honestly though, everyone needs to work retail or be waitstaff at least once just to get some respect for the people that do. Ouch. Can we please get some Fs in the comments for Karen? Next we've got the most frustrating customer of all time. I fix phones for a living, and I have this one regular customer come in, and every time she drops a device off, She always spends between 3 to 7 minutes having a conversation with me that goes a little like the following. We've got mother, we've got the daughter, and we've got me. How much is this? Me. If it just needs this repair, then it costs this much, and I can get it done within this amount of time. Will it work? Me. It should do. If it doesn't, I won't charge you. I don't charge for diagnosis. I've never charged you for diagnosis, but from what I can see, it just needs this repair, and that costs this much. Will it work though? It should, yes. Is it okay though? I'm not 100% sure until I've tried it, but it looks like it should be fine with a new repair. I'll let you know if it'll be extra before I do the work. What if it doesn't work? If it doesn't work, I won't charge you. I don't charge to just check things over. Do I have to pay if it doesn't work? No, I don't charge for diagnosis. I can't afford it. Okay, well it's this much for that repair. If you can't afford that right now, I can't do the repair for you today. What if I can't afford it? I'm on benefits. If I get the phone working and you want it done, I can do it now. And you can collect it when you have money. Or you can bring it back when you can afford it. Will it work? I'm not 100% sure until I've tried it. You'll have to leave it with me. Can you fix it? I should be able to! Yes! Do you think you can do it? I should be able to. Yes. Can you do it today? Yes. But if it works and you want it back today, I'll need payment today. Will it work? I can only let you know if you leave it with me. Okay. Will you let me know though? Because I've got anxiety and I'm on benefits and I can't afford it. I understand. I will call you straight away if I know it will be extra. Otherwise, I'll just let you know when it's done. Will you let me know though? Will you call me when it's done? Yes, I'll call you as soon as it's done. I promise. And you'll let me know if it's extra? Yes. I'll quote you if it's any more than just this repair for this much. She then proceeds to call me / come back to the shop every half hour and ask if it's done yet and if it's any extra. I do always call her when I have updates too. So anyways, I had this other customer, this woman's daughter, but I didn't know this at the time, bring in her phone to me the other day saying it was water damaged. She had no other way of contacting her, so I said to her that I usually try and get a quote within the hour, but every water damaged device is different, and I might have to work on it for a bit longer, or I might be able to tell you a bit sooner. If you want to pop back in an hour, I'll let you know how I'm getting on, but I can't guarantee an answer by then. I spent 3 hours working on it, cleaning it, etc., and got it to turn on with a screen and battery, but couldn't test further as I didn't have her passcode. She said she wanted nothing done, so she walked out with it with all her original parts, phone non-working and paid nothing. The mom then brought the daughter's phone back in yesterday and asked me to have another look, as it was her daughter's phone. I said, I had a look yesterday, and it needed a battery for it to turn on. But if you want it functional, you'll need a screen, because even though there is display, there's no touch. And if you want me to test anything else, I need the passcode. Okay, can I leave it with you, and you can have a look? Then can't you let me know? Yes, that's fine. I'll give you a call. So I call her later in the day, after monitoring the battery and testing the screen. The daughter answers, and I say, I've had a battery in there all day. It's been fine. For a new one, it's 25 pounds. I'll need your passcode to test any further, and your screen isn't fully functional, so you'll need a replacement. That would be 40 pounds. Daughter. So it turns on with a battery? Yes. So does it work then? Yes, it will need a screen for you to be able to use it, but it does turn on with just a battery, and your current screen has display. Is it ready now? I've just got parts rigged up at the minute. I need your confirmation to do any work. Okay, I just want a battery for now. I don't want the screen. Okay, but your screen isn't actually functioning right now. Are you sure you just want a battery? Yes, $40 is too much. Just do the battery, and I'll get it in the morning. So I fit just the battery, and wait for her to come in the next day. The mom came in to collect it today, and we have the following conversation. Does it all work? It turns on. You get display, but you'll need a new screen if you want to be able to use it, and I can't test it without a passcode. So it comes on then? Yes.
What if it doesn't work? What do I do?
It will need a screen for you to be able to use it, and I can't test anything else without a passcode. It's a water-damaged device, so there's no warranty at all. If you pay for it before you've let me test it, and you say you don't want a screen on it now, that's fine. But if anything else at all doesn't work, your screen, your cameras, your speakers, your microphone, your signal, anything at all, there's no warranty. And since you've not let me check it before paying, I'm not liable.
So if I get you the passcode before I pay, you can check it all over?
Exactly, yes.
So does it work now then?
It turns on, but you can't use the screen. And I can't say whether any other functions work or not without a passcode to test it.
How much is a screen?
£40.
Oh, I don't think I can do that. I'll just pay for the battery now, and she can get it later.
Are you sure? There's no warranty. The screen does not work. If anything else does not work, I am not liable and there's no refunds.
Will the phone work though?
No. You need a screen and I can't test anything without her passcode.
So if I pay for it now and it doesn't work, can I bring it back?
You can, and I'll have a look, but there's no warranty and no refunds. I've told you I need the passcode, and it needs a screen.
Okay, well I'll pay now and she can pick it up later.
So she pays, and around an hour later, the daughter comes in, picks it up, leaves, comes back 5 minutes later, and we have the following conversation.
My screen doesn't work at the top. It won't let me press anything.
I know. I quoted you and your mom for one, and you both said you didn't want one.
Okay then, thanks.
She then left, and around 5 minutes later, her mom calls me.
She said the phone doesn't work. You said it did.
No. I said it needs a screen, and I can't test it. But you both told me at least 5 times you don't want a screen. And you insisted on paying before I had the passcode.
Oh, okay. So it needs a screen? Will that fix it then?
I had a screen on it yesterday and it worked. If you bring it back in, I can take another look. But it did work with a screen. Obviously, I can't check anything else without a passcode, though.
Are you sure? What if it doesn't work?
Like I just said, I had a screen on it yesterday and it worked. I told you yesterday it needed a screen. If you bring it in, I'll try a screen. And if it doesn't work, I won't charge you for trying it again.
How much is a screen?
£40.
I can't afford that. Can't you do it half price?
I spent 3 hours labor on it Saturday that hasn't been charged for. I'm not giving any discounts. I've been upfront with the pricing from the beginning.
Okay, see you tomorrow.
I honestly am running out of patience with her, and I'm getting sick of explaining to her every single time that I'll call her when it's done. If the price changes, if there's more wrong, etc. I can't be any more transparent about my pricing, my timescales, and my work. I just hope she listens to me next time she's in. I won't give your kid a rabbit for free. I breed rabbits. I raise a few different breeds, primarily for my dinner table, but also for showing and supporting other breeders and FFA kids needing project livestock. I rarely sell pets and never advertise them as pets. On the rare occasion I get a pet inquiry, I'll sell only a rabbit that's suitable for pet dom, friendly, not aggressive, and most importantly, if the inquirer seems like they've researched rabbit ownership and agrees to return the rabbit if for some reason they have to rehome it. I never sell rabbits for holidays or birthdays. I am picky with pet homes, as the life of pet rabbits can go one of two ways. They're loved and kept for the entirety of their lives, or they're bounced around from home to home when the novelty wears off, and eventually end up in a shelter or as a bait animal, or as someone's dinner. Okay, on to the story. We've got entitled Mom. She was loud. We've got her daughter, who was 4 and didn't do anything wrong. We've got my friend / show buddy, and me. I was at a rabbit show with a friend. It was midday, and we had finished 2 of the 3 shows taking place that day. It was lunch break, and friend and I were finishing up our sandwiches and were prepping our show lineup for the next show, when this rather large woman, entitled Mom, and her kid, her daughter, they approached our setup, looking at the rabbit I had on my table, entitled Mom.
What an adorable bunny. Look at that bunny, daughter.
Her daughter. Oh. Me. Thank you. It was a very cute rabbit, lopped ears and all white with blue eyes.
How much is it?
Oh, this one isn't for sale. He's one of my show rabbits. Note,
I had a chalkboard with the available rabbits listed. Most of the sales that take place at shows are other breeders and FFA youth breeder/showers. At this point, I had no clue if Entitled Mom was a breeder or if she was looking for a rabbit appropriate for her kid to show. It was rare that people showed up looking for pets at a show, since most of the availables are rabbits that will be priced for show/breeding and depending on quality can be pricey. I pointed out my chalkboard and told her I could show her whoever she was interested in. She balked at my prices. "Why are these so expensive? Those are absolutely ridiculous prices." My cheapest rabbit was $60. Most expensive was $200. Me. They are priced off quality. If you want a decent show rabbit, they'll be more than a brood quality rabbit. Entitled Mom. "I just want a pet for my daughter, so you don't need to charge us so much." Me. "Oh, I see. Unfortunately, none of the rabbits I brought are appropriate for a kid's pet." "What? Why?" "The big ones are friendly, but weigh over 12 pounds. They're too big for her to handle easily. The little ones are aggressive. They require an experienced handler. They aren't friendly or cuddly at all and aren't available for a pet home. They're available to other breeders." Entitled Mom. "But they're so little. What harm can they do?" Me. Holds a pin in front of one of the small rabbit's noses. It chomps down and tries to pull the pin from my hand. They're bred to be high-strung, so they pose upright and rigidly. The breed is generally not a good pet breed. Entitled Mom. "Fine, we'll take a big one." The two I have available are $150 and $200. Both are proven and registered grand champions. Entitled Mom. "I am not paying that much for a rabbit. You are out of your mind." Me. "I am not going to lower their prices. They are worth it and will be a great addition to any breeder's herd. They really are too large for your daughter to safely handle anyway. If they don't feel secure while being held, they will kick out of fear. Such a large rabbit could seriously hurt a kid. There might be other exhibitors selling rabbits more appropriate for your daughter and at a pet price." At that moment, one of my breeds was called over the megaphone. Lunch break was over. I scooped up the rabbit off the table and started to move towards the show tables. Me. "Excuse me, I need to put my rabbits up. The judging is starting up." Entitled Mom, ignoring me. "I don't understand why there's so much. You should just give daughter a rabbit because she'll love it and give it a good home." Daughter was looking at the rabbits in transport cages, clearly enthralled by all of them. She seemed particularly interested in the small, high-strung ones. She was being good though, not touching and not whining to hold any of them. Me. "I won't give away any of my rabbits. Excuse me." Entitled Mom. "I'm trying to do business with you. You're going to brush off a paying customer? That's incredibly rude. I can see why no one has bought any of your rabbits. You're being a selfish jerk." Me. "Listen, lady, this is a rabbit show, not a pet store. I'm an exhibitor, not an employee. I don't have to sell anything to you. I didn't have to explain to you why none of the rabbits would be a good match for you, and I most certainly don't have to lower any of my prices for someone claiming they're not worth it because they aren't educated enough to know a purebred from a mutt. Go look on Craigslist if you want a $20 rabbit. You won't find that here. I do not deserve to be called names because you think you're entitled to other people's time and property. Now, I need to get my rabbits up. Get out of my way." She muttered some insult which I didn't clearly hear, but I ignored her. I spent the next 15 minutes or so taking rabbits to the table and watched the judging. All of a sudden, I hear a scream coming from the direction of my staging area. I look over to see Entitled Mom flailing about with a tiny rabbit latched onto the squishy part of her hand, between the pointer finger and the thumb. She's screaming, understandably, as rabbit bites hurt, and pulling the rabbit from the hind end. My friend is trying to grab the rabbit and not having any luck since Entitled Mom is flailing about like a fish. I'm mad. I'm also mean when I'm angry, and I'm seeing red. We have clip-on notices on the transport cages that clearly say, "Do not touch," and "I bite." This moron went into my cages while I wasn't looking and tried to remove one of my rabbits. I run to her, grab her by the wrist, and scream at her to hold still, otherwise she'll never get the rabbit off. She's obviously in pain. Daughter is crying from the commotion, and friend is looking pale and wide-eyed at the whole ordeal. The rabbit is breathing hard, bleeding from his rear foot and not letting go.
I do the only thing I could think of and use my pin to pry him off. She screams and tries to jerk away, which makes me snarl a very angry, "Hold still." Entitled Mom, "You're hurting me." Me, "Do you want him off or not? I'm trying to help you. I told you they were aggressive. You did not have permission to touch any of my rabbits." Off pops the rabbit, wild-eyed and panicked. Back into his carrier he goes. He now looks very smug. Entitled Mom, "Ah!" She's bleeding everywhere. "I'm going to sue you. Your rabbit attacked me." Me, "I told your stupid butt that they were aggressive. You had no right to touch any of my rabbits. There's a sign on his cage that says he bites. Can you not read?" Friend on phone with police, "Yes, I'd like to report an attempted theft and need someone here ASAP." Entitled Mom, "Yes, get the cops here. Your rabbit assaulted me. You brought a rabid rabbit to a place where there are kids. It could have hurt my daughter." Me, "Only if she had broken into my cages like you did. What kind of example are you setting for your kid?" Entitled Mom, "Forget you." At that point, the show secretary leads Entitled Mom and daughter off for some first aid, and I check over my rabbit. She had thrashed him around so hard that all 4 toenails on both hind feet had been broken off. According to Friend, the Entitled Mom refused to leave after I took my rabbits up to be judged and had been grilling Friend about the rabbits and the prices. When another of our breeds was called up, Friend had started to bring those rabbits up. In about 20 seconds of being unobserved by one of us, Entitled Mom thought it would be a good idea to steal one of the small rabbits. Our neighbor had watched her open the cage and grab the rabbit. Fortunately, she picked one of the meanest ones we have, and being an uneducated fool, picked him up by grabbing him by the chest and back, right in bite range. The cops showed up and took our statement and then her statement. I showed them my rabbit and informed them I wanted to press charges for damaged property. Since rabbits qualify as livestock in my state, damage of property was all I could press for. Animal control was also called, and she was cited and charged with animal endangerment. Unfortunately, the wounded rabbit's toenails grew in wide, so he can no longer be shown and his value dropped. She ended up paying me for the full cost of the rabbit and has a ban from all rabbit shows with the club that put that particular show on. She undoubtedly has a nasty scar to show off as well. Would you ever like to have a pet rabbit, or would you prefer something else? Please leave a comment letting me know. Next we've got, took a year, but I sued the unsuable. So, after a year-long battle, this finally came to a close. A little backstory. I bought a house about 5 years ago, and in 3 years, it flooded 3 times. It never flooded in the 40 years before. Thanks, climate change. Finally, after the 3rd flood, my wife and I were financially able to move out and sell the house for a loss. We search around and find our dream house, or so we thought. After living in the new house for about 6 months, we noticed something very peculiar. Whenever it would rain hard, the bathtub would backfill with sewage and the toilets wouldn't flush. So we called a plumber. The plumbers were awesome and told us that the sewer lines had broken between the house and the city sewer line, and while we could try and spot fix, we would probably need to replace the entire line. Ouch. Having just dumped a bunch of cash on a new house and taking a loss on the old house, we said to try and keep it as cheap as possible. They dug up where the line was broken. Broken is an understatement. The line had all but dissolved. We were going to have to replace the whole line, about $5,000. Not the best time, but okay, let's do it. Once they exposed the line the best they could, I got a call from the plumbers. The line has broken up so badly, they cannot find where the residential line ties into the city line, or tap. Now the homeowner is responsible for the residential line, but the city is responsible for the tap and the main line. I asked the plumber what is needed. He says we need to get the city plans and dig to uncover the tap. More digging equals more money. At this point, it's been 2 weeks, and I just want to use my own bathroom and take a shower. Okay, dig the hole. They dig a 4x4x10 hole and find nothing. We double-check the city's plans, and they are right on where the plans say the tap is. Now we have to deal with the city. We call 311 as directed, and after sitting on hold for 3 hours, a city official sends us the same plans with the location where we dug. We call back and say we already dug there and there is no tap. Getting nowhere with the city, my wife finally goes down to City Hall and after spending a vacation day hanging around waiting for someone, she finally gets in to meet with an official. Let's call him Richard. Richard prints off the same plans we have already been given and says we need to dig where it's marked. My wife takes out her phone and says, "Look, it's not there." At this point, he mutters to himself and takes out a pen and draws on the plans, marking the actual location. It shows the residential line doglegging from the original drawings and is about 10 feet west of the initial location. It was apparent that he doesn't want to waste his valuable, cushy government job time on my wife. It was pretty obvious he just made something up to get her out of his office. Plumbers come out, dig a second 4x4x10 hole, read "more money," and surprise, surprise, the tap isn't there either. Fun. Back to City Hall and another vacation day wasted waiting for Richard. At this point, we don't want another hand-drawn map. Someone from the city needs to come out and mark where this tap is. They come out, and I burn a vacation day to wait around for them. To their credit, they got down in the sewer, did some digging around, and mark a new spot between the two big holes. Finally, a real location. Plumbers come out and dig a third hole, and if you think they actually found the tap, then you would be mistaken. At this point, the entire backyard is destroyed. Piles of dirt everywhere. The lawn is dead, the trees are dead, it's ruined. Our beautiful new house's backyard is literally crap. Back down to Richard's office. Another vacation day burned and we are livid. We remain calm, but insist that we must have not been tied into the city's main line. There was no tap. Now you might be thinking, how did we not know? 6 months of sewage just piled up in your backyard? In the backyard, there is a large dirt mound that has been turned into a nicely landscaped forest. Lots of room to absorb the sewage that only 2 people would produce. But if it rained hard, the dirt was saturated and would backfill the bathtub and the toilets wouldn't flush. Richard doesn't accept responsibility, but does send out the contractor who did all the work for taps in my area. The contractor comes out, and I get the full second story. 2 years prior, while the previous owner was doing improvements and not living in the house, the main line of sewer was replaced. Basically, they slide the new tubing into the old tubing underground and then go in and install new taps for each house. Since no one was living in the house, they couldn't get into the backyard and told the city they did not service our house. I am furious. It's been 3 months, over $20,000, and all the wasted time and vacation just because Richard was too lazy to do his job and make one call to the contractor to sort it out. Now, remember how my first house flooded 3 times? I learned my lesson dealing with people, and once we knew we had to talk to the city, we recorded everything. Every phone call, every email. I videoed the contractor and his explanation. Everything, and all obtained legally. In my state, you have to have both people's consent to be recorded. He installs a tap, and I take the first shower at my house in 3 months. I am ready to act. I go down once again to Richard's office. I show him everything and want to file a claim. I agree to cover the cost of the residential line, as that is my responsibility. However, I want the city to reimburse the costs to dig the unnecessary holes. I think I have a good case. Pursuant to our city, we had to file a claim before starting any work and provide 3 estimates in writing to file a claim. Since none of that was done and could not be done after the fact, Richard denied the claim right there. Left without words, I walk away completely defeated. I perk up on the way home after calling my wife and being reminded that I have some lawyer friends. Surely one of them could help or knows someone who can. Unbeknownst to me, my state has something called sovereign immunity. Basically, you can try and sue the city or state, but it will be thrown out immediately, and Richard knows this. No credible lawyer will help me pursue this case because they know I would just be wasting my money. I am pretty much out of luck. After months of calling around to try and find someone to help, I have resigned myself to defeat. Almost a year goes by. The loans I took out are about to start coming due, and I have no idea how I am going to pay for it. All communication with Richard and his office is blocked. I have also tried his boss and crickets. I tried going back down there, but Richard refused to meet with me. I finally reach out to my council member in a last-ditch effort. I include a synopsis along with all the evidence I have. I didn't expect much. 1 hour after hitting send, my phone rings. It is my council member, and she is livid about how we were treated. She has a meeting scheduled with the head of public works for later that week. She doesn't promise anything, but says she is going to fight for me until they kick her out of the building. After the meeting, she calls me on her way back to the office. The head of Public Works has accepted full responsibility. She wants receipts for everything. The plumber, pay stubs showing the vacation we took, phone logs from the time we spent on hold, the quote from the landscaper to fix the backyard, all of it. She has them all in her inbox by the time she makes it back to the office. That was about 3 weeks ago. Yesterday, I met with my council member at her office. Me, thank you so much. My wife and I cannot repay you for all you have done. Her, it was my pleasure. We chit-chat for a bit. Her, here is a check for what you are owed. Me, this is so great. We can pay off the loan and finally get someone to fix our yard. Wait, this is much more than we need. Her, you forgot to include emotional distress. I added it in for you. Wink. Oh, and if you ever have any issues, you won't have to worry about dealing with Richard. He no longer works there. Just come to me. I have become good friends with the head of Public Works. Me. Oh my God, you are literally the best person I know. If there is anything I can do. Her. Elections are in the fall. Maybe you could turn out and vote. So I went home, paid off everything, and the landscapers are coming out next week. Oh, and I am volunteering on her re-election campaign. Thanks for reading. Next we've got Karen demands I switch seats with her. I used to fly a lot for work, living out of a suitcase 35 or so weeks a year. It was exhausting, but I met a ton of great people. This story is about one who wasn't. A lot of people think the big benefits of flying a lot is the miles, and miles are great, but when you fly often enough, the real benefit is the status program. The airline I flew most often had a program where they would give you free upgrades to first class. The airline would sell as many first-class seats as they could, and if there were any unsold, would give them away to the most frequent flyers. Often I'd get the upgrade a day or two in advance, but sometimes I would be on standby for the upgrade, especially for US cross-country flights, and have to wait until shortly before boarding. So I'd have a coach seat, and if something opened up, they'd call me shortly before boarding and upgrade me, which is what happened this time. The gate agent called me up with a smile and says, "Good news, OP. Looks like we can upgrade you." We had a pleasant conversation. I thanked her and took my seat. Unbeknownst to me, we weren't the only two people paying attention to that exchange. Boarding begins, and I settle into my window seat. Nobody sits next to me, and with first-class boarding seat, that probably means nobody is sitting there. Perfect. I can spread out a bit while I work. About 10 minutes go by when a woman with her kid in tow stops by me. She says, "Excuse me," and gestures at the folder I had put on the aisle seat next to me. I apologize and pick up my folder, and as her son sits down, she says, "You need to change seats with me." Poor manners, but whatever. Switching seats on a plane happens all the time. I figure she and her kid were separated for whatever reason. It happens a lot with upgrades, and obviously want to sit together. No problem. Me. "Oh, okay. Where's your seat?" She hands me her boarding pass, 26F or something. Assuming she had gotten upgraded, but handed me the wrong boarding pass, I said, "This is your coach seat. Where are you sitting up here?" "There," she says, pointing to my seat. Me. "No, I mean, what is your assigned first-class seat?" Her. "I am going to sit with my son." Me. "No problem. What is your first-class seat and I'll move." Entitled Mom. "Look, there was a mistake in upgrades. We have these seats." I start to talk again and she snaps. "Why are you being such a jerk?" This gets the attention of the flight attendants. I didn't know if Reddit has a flight attendant horror story subreddit, but it should, precisely for people like this. The flight attendant comes over. Flight attendant. "Is there a problem?" "Yes, he won't change seats with me." "Sir?" she says with a puzzled look on her face. "I will, but I'd rather not sit in 26F after I've already been upgraded." Flight attendant. "Okay, can I see everyone's boarding passes?" Mine reads 5A, hers 26F, and her son's 26E. Flight attendant. "Ma'am, you and your son are in row 26. This is a long flight, and we've been up for 2 hours already. You guys give away these seats. You should give them to us. Those seats aren't big enough for normal people." I resisted the urge to ask what basis she had for considering herself normal, and noticed that a line had formed in the aisle because nobody could squeeze by her to get their seats. Flight attendant. "Ma'am, I'm sorry, but you'll need to sit in your assigned seats.
No, we want an upgrade. I fly with you every year.
Flight attendant, and we appreciate your loyalty, ma'am, but we're boarding and we need everyone to take their assigned seats. At this point, some folks in the aisle began complaining and telling her to take her seat. Entitled Mom,
Look at him and how he's dressed.
I was in jeans and a sweatshirt, my usual travel attire.
He doesn't belong here.
Just then, a voice from the aisle shouted, You don't either, lady. Take your seat. The flight attendant fought a smile while I just burst out laughing, which only enraged Entitled Mom further. Somewhere during all of this, the other flight attendant called into the flight deck, and a flight deck officer emerged, squeezing by passengers. Entitled Mom,
We want our free upgrade.
Officer to flight attendant, What seems to be the problem? Entitled Mom interrupts,
He won't switch seats with me.
Flight attendant, This passenger and her son won't sit in their assigned seats, 26E and 26F. Officer, Ma'am, you need to take your seats. Entitled Mom,
No, we want our free upgrade.
Officer, Ma'am, if you want to reach the destination, you need to be in your seats right now, because interfering with a flight crew means the police get involved, and nobody wants that, do they? She yanks her son out of the seat and storms back, to applause from the rest of the passengers. The guy sitting on the other side of the aisle turns to flight attendant and officer and says, Whatever they pay you guys, it isn't enough. The rest of the flight was quiet and uneventful. While I was off the plane long before her, we crossed paths at baggage claim. She called me a jerk under her breath, and in one of my less than proud moments, I turned to her kid and said, Don't be like mommy. Would you have switched seats with Karen or just told her to buzz off? Please leave a comment letting me know. Next we've got Karen I worked with for months mistakes me for a waitress. We were in a musical together. I was backstage crew, she was an actress. I was the person who maneuvered the set for all the scene changes, made sure everyone had their props, painted the set, and did many other things. Long story short, I was pretty much everywhere and interacted on the set of that show to make sure the show ran smoothly. Closing night happens, the show is over, and the entire cast was going to a local restaurant to celebrate. I, of course, went too, and sat at a table with my backstage pals. One thing about doing tech and theater is that you have to wear all black for the shows, so that the audience doesn't see you at all. So we're all at this restaurant, and most of us have already eaten. We're all just talking now, and I'm standing next to a table talking with one of my friends, when I hear someone behind me say,
Excuse me?
I didn't know she was talking to me, and continued my conversation. She says it again, and rather aggressively taps my arm. I turn around, and before I can even say anything, she goes,
Can I get some more of these?
And gestures towards her empty plate. Confused, I go, what?
The wings. I want another plate of them.
Now, I have spoken with this woman almost every day for months now. Put her props in place, moved the set for her scene, all that. I assumed she knew who I was. Why are you asking me? She goes,
Well, you work here, don't you?
I shake my head, but she doesn't believe me.
Well, you're dressed like you work here, and you were just standing at that table and taking their order. Clearly you work here.
I apologize, tell her that I in fact do not work there and that I'm a crew member for their show. Prompt her with some conversations we've had, and eventually she realizes that she is in the wrong. She apologizes and turns away, and that was the end of it. Bizarre. Entitled Mom tries to take control of our fire truck so her brat can ride in it. Little background. I'm an EMT and a fire cadet at my city fire department. Basically, I just provide some small assistance on medical calls and observe for others, such as vehicular extrication, working fires, etc. Yesterday, I was on shift with our squad. For those who don't know, the squad is a truck that only carries tools for all sorts of emergencies. It responds to nearly all calls and has no pump for putting out fires, although some squads do have pumps. Anyway, our ladder truck was being sent to City Hall so some Boy Scouts could look at it. So I asked my officer if I could transfer while they were there. He said it was fine. Then asked the officer of the ladder truck if I could go, and he also said it would be all right. He also asked if I knew the parts of the aerial and if I could guide a small group and give a little tour, and I said I do, and I'd be more than happy to. So later we drive over to City Hall, and like 15 or so scouts come outside to come see the truck. So I start showing them around, showing them the pump panels, the tools, etc. And then we get to the ladder controls. Our ladder truck is a Pierce aerial platform with a 95-foot ladder. As I was finishing talking about the controls, this woman, entitled Mom, interrupts me and the whole ordeal went as follows. Entitled Mom: "Excuse me, my son would like to ride in the bucket." Me: "Sorry, but we can't prep the truck to raise the ladder currently because while we're here, we still have to be prepared to leave if a call comes through." Entitled Mom: "What do you mean prep the truck? All you have to do is make the ladder go up." Me: "There's a bit more to it than that. We'd have to start the engine, switch the power from drive to staged, pressurize the hydraulics, extend and lower the stabilizers, and fit everyone into a ladder belt." Entitled Mom: "That all just sounds like a load of nonsense." Well, maybe to you, but honestly, it is a lot of work to raise the ladder, and I'm also not authorized to operate it.
Well then, who is? Why are you even here if you can't use the truck?
I'm an EMT and a fire cadet. I mostly just perform EMS tasks and observe fire scenes. It says my title on my jacket.
Well, duh, I can read.
After a while of her talking very loudly, the officer comes over and asks if there is anything going on. I start to explain before entitled Mom starts yelling.
"Your stupid cadet here says my son can't ride in the bucket."
Officer: "Well, he can't. And I heard him already explain to you why he can't." Entitled Mom shrieks.
"I am your boss. I am a taxpayer. I drive a brand new Lincoln, and I work for City Hall. You work to serve me."
Officer: "You are not my captain or our chief. You have no right to give us orders."
"I am going to speak to your head chief about this. What is his name?"
Officer: "His name is on the city website under the Fire/EMS tab."
"Whatever. I'm going to have you all fired."
We just brushed it off, and I continued giving my tour of the truck when I noticed she disappeared around the back. I asked the group to hold for a second while I popped around back to see her trying to use the remote control unit for the ladder. Obviously nothing was happening because the truck was turned off and the hydraulics weren't pressurized and the safety locks were on. Entitled Mom:
"This fell out. I'm trying to put it back."
I tried to take it from her and she held on to it tightly, saying,
"No, I got it. You just go away. I don't need you to show me how to put a box back."
I yelled for the officer, and he came with both the firefighter and the engineer, and they grabbed the control unit from her, and she yelled we're all making a huge mistake, blah blah, and how all she wanted was to let her kid ride. And I could see her kid in the group looking very embarrassed, as now everyone was watching her make a fool of herself. The officer said, "I think we're gonna have to just leave the tour at that and head back to the station." So the officer watched her as the engineer and firefighter put everything back and closed all the compartments before we then left. A few hours later, we all had a laugh about it over dinner. Also, officer doesn't mean police officer. The officer sits in the front right-hand side while the engineer sits on the left side and drives. Officer is in charge, engineer operates the truck systems, and the firefighter goes with the officer. Imagine your partner is threatening to break up with you over a tattoo that you want. That's exactly what happens in our next story. It just popped up on your screen. Give it a tap, come have a listen. You won't believe what happens next.